Hello, and welcome to the Game Informer Show. I am your host, Andy McNamara, and here we are at week 5 of podcasting from home. It is crazy when you say it out loud, and it's going to be crazier when we say week 8 or week 9. But right now, we're at week 5. I think we've got a great show lined up for you. We have a lot of great things to talk about. Fallout 76 Wastelanders, some rumors we're going to address. We're going to talk about WoW Shadowlands. We have community emails. So please remember to follow us if you like this content. If you like what we're doing, make sure you smash the thingy, hit the bell-like icon, and become a part of our community because we really appreciate it. We have a lot of fun here on the show. And today, speaking of fun, is our great panel. How are you doing, Andy Reiner? Welcome.
Hello, I'm good. Well, so, as good as can be.
As good as can be. So one of those things you talk about week 5 in doing it this way. Last week, I invited Reiner to the show, and I was like, oh, it's all set. Show's ready to go. And then right as we're about to start, I had invited too many people to the show. So I had to be like, Reiner, I'm sorry. I screwed up. And I almost screwed it up again today, inviting people.
I think it's 4 consecutive weeks of you almost screwing it up.
I'm really trying to screw it up. I'm trying to get 5 people in here, but we're limiting the show to 4 due to the working from home. So we're a little bit limited, but we're great. I'm so excited to have Reiner here this week. He's been playing a lot of Fallout, so he's going to give us some great insight, and also just great to have you on the show. Back again this week. This time for sporting a Farm Life hat is Dan the Jacket Tack. How you doing, Dan?
I'm doing great. You can't keep me away. I keep coming back. I have too much fun here.
Yeah. I mean, we're glad you're here. I don't know if I'm as glad about the hat, but
so the Farm Life thing. It's got like a dual meaning, okay? Do you even want to get into this?
I do.
You mean it has a dual meaning of farm and life?
So MMORPG farming, which I'm really into MMOs, so it's got that. And I'm also into farm animals like ducks, okay? So there is double meaning here.
Wait. You should always finish, I'm really into farm animals with more explanation of what that means.
Hold on. When did a duck become a farm animal?
It's a farm animal because I want it to be one. Okay.
Okay. So, all right.
That's my favorite farm animal, hippopotamus.
There are ducks on farms.
My giraffes.
I gotta tell you, there is a YouTube channel that I watch that's nothing but ducks on a farm.
Okay.
All right. It's very relaxing in these dark times. Believe me, it's like a Zen experience. All right.
Is it a duck farm or is it just?
Yes.
Okay.
It's literally just hundreds and hundreds of ducks in various barns and outdoor areas.
I'll just tell you, if you're playing Family Feud, you get a big axe.
I'm not playing Family Feud.
Okay. Name a farm animal.
Yeah.
And finally, we have Alex Stadnick. How you doing, Alex?
I'm good. I always hate going after Dan because anything I say is not as nearly as interesting as what he has to say.
Well, you got your T-Wolves jersey on, which we're missing the NBA this year.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that.
I need some injection of sports in my life, and figured I'd, especially Karl Anthony Towns, the jersey I'm wearing. He lost his mom this week. Shout out to him.
Yeah, that's such a bummer.
This is tough. So, and he's such a fixture of Minnesota sports. So
if you just to derail the conversation for a moment, this last weekend, Call of Duty came back, and the Rocker made it all the way to the grand finals. And I thought they were going to do really well. And then they got smoked in the finals. It was a bummer. And by the way, I was like, welcome to Minnesota sports.
Yeah.
Rocker, you're officially in. Making it to the finals and losing. That's what Minnesota sports do best.
Yikes.
So, there's been that. But there's been other. And also, just to point out, I watched the 100 Thieves tournament yesterday, which was a lot of fun. It's kind of like, as far as esports go, there's really been a lot of great Counter-Strike going on. As far as if you miss sports, which I've seen some reports that say sports viewing of esports is up because of the lack of regular sports. There's a lot out there. I highly recommend it. I'm a big fan. Enjoy it. So, and also go Rocker, just to throw in that. I was rooting for you guys. And it was a bummer that we lost.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get into the games. So Fallout 76 has been, let's say, maligned. I know there's people that are, really enjoying that community, but it has definitely been, I think I can say, a disappointment to the larger gaming world. Yeah. And they had a large patch this week that brought in a lot of changes that I think people think will change the direction of this game. Reiner, you have been playing it nonstop basically since yesterday. So tell us about what Wastelanders is and how it changes Fallout 76.
Wastelanders adds in NPCs back into Fallout. So it kind of retains some of its classic form. And there's a new story along with it. The game before they were there, it was very much just a barren wasteland, right? Like it was just West Virginia, nothing going on. And you know what? Like when COVID-19 started hitting, the last state to get it was West Virginia. And I was like, well, maybe it is just a wasteland. Maybe there is no one there. Maybe Bethesda nailed it. But obviously that changed now. But they've added in these people so you can interact. There's some life back in the game. And the one thing I'll say right out of the gates, I'm still going through it. I don't know how much content is there, but it's better. So it is going the right direction for this game that launched in 2018. I think I gave it a 6 when it came out, filled with all sorts of bugs, not even just the irradiated kind, but technical issues. They're starting to right that ship. Whether it's enough, I don't know. Like there'll be times where I'm playing it and I'll go on a quest and I'm having a lot of fun and it's really well designed and there's some good encounters and some interesting lore along with it. And then I'll go on the next one and it's a mess again, right? Like things aren't working the way they should. We're getting stuck in the environment. So there's some legacy issues that are still happening in Wastelanders, even though they are pushing to deliver a different experience. It's still kind of built on this unstable ground from Fallout 76.
That's unfortunate. I guess the big thing being that like the NPCs are supposed to, like you said, bringing life to the world is supposed to make it feel more like the single player experience. Does that mirror the way that you've experienced it so far?
Yeah. So if you were playing Fallout 76 at launch, you'd go on missions. You might get a audio message from the overseer or some other character. And then most of the time, the way story was told was environmentally. So you'd go into a bunker and there'd be corpses around or someone stabbed through the chest. And you're like, oh, what happened here? And then you'd read.
I'm going to guess murder. That's my guess. Murder.
Could have been an accident. You'll read notes that you find, to get more story, or terminals, get, like computers that you can get more story that way. Now you actually have some fresh faces that are in front of you that are talking to you that you have choice with, that you can have conversation trees with, you can influence, with charisma or, different actions like that, where you can get different outcomes or better, rewards depending on how you've sculpted your character. So yes, you're getting some of those classic Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 elements, but it is still Fallout 76. And what that means, it's a game designed for multiplayer, right? It's a game that supports cooperative and competitive. So even though you could buy into a private server and have it be your own single player experience, right? Yeah. Using that Fallout First subscription service. But for players that aren't, you're sharing a world with, other people, and they could interrupt what you're doing. They could throw kinks in it. Like I went on a mission, I'm kind of getting into the story, and then 2 naked guys, just wearing underwear came running out of this room and then started puking on me. And it's like, okay, there's hijinks that happen within the multiplayer experience, no matter what, no matter what you're trying to do. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm kind of enjoying where it's going. There's going to be companions that you'll have, running with you. I'm not to that point yet. There's going to be some romance options coming up. I'm not to that yet, but I kind of like how it feels. Like there's an actual city that you're in, a hub where there's just people everywhere. You could talk to them, get to know them, learn about their backstory. That's cool, right? Like that's what I liked about Fallout 3 and 4. And now that element is back in Fallout 76.
And you plan on writing a full review of this game, right? You plan on getting it all through and getting it done, right?
Yeah, that's kind of the hope right now. And I'm kind of leaning that way the more I play it. It does seem substantial, and it does seem like it's changing the game enough where I think I need to weigh in again. Like that original review, yes, there are elements I can cut and paste into the new review of the technical issues and stuff like that. But by and large, I think just the emptiness and the vibe of the whole game has changed dramatically by adding in NPCs.
So do you feel that, I mean, like just as an early like inkling, and I know you got a long way to go and no one should review anything this early, but I mean, you do think this is a step in the right direction, or is this just a game that, you know, I think as some believe, that's just doomed to be in a middle ground where it never satisfies anyone?
Yeah, it could still kind of be that purgatory. I don't know if it's out of the woods yet, but like I said early on, it is better. And there was fun to be had in the base Fallout 76 game. So whether it's there to a point where I'm like, yeah, go in, or if I'm like, again, being very cautious, you know, telling a cautionary tale of like, buyer beware, that remains to be seen. I'm not far enough yet to give that verdict, but I can say it is better than what was there at launch.
The good news is this is free, so anyone that already owns the game can grab this and install it and go experience it. But I definitely think I think given the situation, I think waiting for reviews and for more, from multiple outlets to see how it affects the world, I think it would be a smart play if you haven't purchased the game before. Yeah,
I agree. Just hold off. It'll be a matter of days, and hopefully I'll have my review up this week, or maybe early next week.
So I know they're kind of trying to make it a little bit more like a persistent world feel. Do you feel like there are things that are drawing you in, loops that seem apparent early on in the game, like as far as dailies and things like that multiplayer aspect?
There's tons. Like quests are popping up left and right, events, that are happening around the clock. There's things like that just all over the world where you get distracted. Like you're running, I'm going east. I need to go 4 miles east. And all of a sudden, the next thing I know, I'm all the way north because I got distracted by something. They're also doing more end game content, like better loot, stuff like that. They added a new currency for the story content, which I think is a really smart play on their part, where you get gold bullion now as kind of rewards for doing quests, and then you use that for story gear or story equipment. So you're not using the currency you had before for all these other valuable things. You now have something that's just dedicated to giving you things based on the story. So it's not like they're, nickel and diming you the whole way through this thing.
Yeah, nice.
And then also, if you played through the game in, last or 2 years ago, or even last year, there's like 40 new areas to explore. And then old zones have been redone, like the Fallen Space Station. That's where the Raider camp is. That's where your headquarters is. So that's completely redone. So there is more to see and do now, even if you went through everything in the main game.
So, Dan or Alex, did you guys get into the world of Fallout 76 before? I just, from the beginning, it just never quite sparked any imagination for me.
I mean, I'm sure there are people out there that like it. I've had no desire to ever explore it from beginning to now. Yeah. So this isn't going to change it for me. I didn't really care if there were NPCs in there anyway. It always seemed like sort of just like a pseudo kind of Rust style experience.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I'm not really into those. Like, I'm going to build my base and then there's like nukes and stuff, whatever, right? I don't know a whole lot about this game. The sort of like conjecture, the controversy and conjecture about it at release was enough for me to say, I got other stuff to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's that simple.
Yeah. For me, it was because they did a beta, if I'm not mistaken, right? It was a game that on paper sounded perfect to me and the group of people I played with, because I love Fallout 3. Fallout 4 didn't slap quite as hard for me, but I still enjoyed it. So the idea of being able to share that experience with friends was appealing to me. I know that's kind of taboo, but like I was into it. But then playing the beta and reading, we played the beta and my friends had a so-so reaction to it, and then reading just about the technical hell some of the players were going through, we just kind of backed off it, and then I don't know what else came out around it, but it just totally fell by the wayside. And going back to Fallout 4, I wasn't quite as taken with it again, and to me it looked like it was more of an like Fallout 4.5 online, you know what I mean? Which is, is a little disrespectful, but like, it didn't click the way I wanted it to, so I just avoided it.
And one thing I'll add at the end here is it doesn't look very good, right? Like the tech is dated. The textures really, I mean, there's times where I'm looking at it, I'm like, wow, I cannot believe even in 2018 that that was, considered something that got through testing and all that. Like, I don't even know what I'm looking at. Like, what texture is it?
Because they use the same engine as Fallout 4, right?
I believe so, yeah. And it's just dated, right? Like the game feels, even in 2018, it felt old, and now it really looks old.
I mean, it even felt a little old, and for when it came out, and Fallout 4 came out, what, 2016?
I think so, yeah, or 2015. Yeah, it was a while ago.
Yeah, so it just didn't feel like fresh. Like when you first saw Fallout 3, it was like jaw dropping for that era. So I never quite recaptured the spark of that.
Look at you guys and your graphics defining everything about your games. Yeah, I think it's so weird to be in a world for me, not only where we're quarantined and doing the podcast from home, but that Bethesda doesn't have like, a top tier RPG that's, leading the way. I look to them as a company that should be defining where we go in the RPG space. And it's unfortunate that we're hemming and hawing around a title and not like super excited. Hopefully as you play it more, Reiner, it really shows and shines through, and that they've found a way to move the thing forward, because there's just so many Fallout fans out there. There's just they're waiting and they're hungry.
Yeah, nothing about it says great yet, right? Like even the best missions are good. Like there's nothing that's really jumping out as top tier that you would expect from the studio that made Skyrim and Fallout 3. It's a misstep, even for people I think that really enjoy the game would probably say like, yeah, it's not as good as those, right? Like, I think that's a common sentiment. It's a good idea, but it didn't quite hit the mark.
Yeah.
So do you think this is enough to draw people like me or Dan in who have never really given it the time of day? Or is it just kind of, we'll see what the next thing is?
I mean, for you two, I would say, oh, you got to play it right now.
You just want people to play with. Yeah.
I want to grief you. Yeah.
I mean, there is, just to be clear, there is virtually nothing that would make me play it right now.
Wow. Dan, you're just brutal.
Wow.
I mean, that's just the truth.
Yeah.
What if we required you to write a story about it?
You could do that. You could do that. It might actually be an interesting story. It'd be a tale of woe, most likely. But that would be okay. So that would be a way you could that I would play it, right?
Oh yeah. To answer your question, Alex, I don't know yet. I just got to play through it all the way.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's the big question. I think where we look forward to getting your answer. Maybe we can get you on the show again and address that. I'm sure the review will be out sometime soon or something. We'll put up something, even if we don't get a review done, we'll put up something that summarizes your thoughts. 100%.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people, just hearing it's better might be enough for them to go at least check it out again.
Yeah.
That maybe they gave it a shot and it didn't quite hit the mark. It's worth a look, see if you like it. You could turn it off very quickly.
All right. Well, the next thing I wanted to talk about was there wasn't a lot of news this week. I didn't feel anything that's like super blockbuster, but there was one thing that popped up that I thought we've talked about it numerous times in the show, and I thought it was worth bringing back up. And this was that there is a Resident Evil 4 remake rumor floating around from a site called VGC that says that Capcom plans to release a Resident Evil 4 remake in 2022. First of all, I want to be very clear. I am not saying this story is accurate. I am repeating a rumor 100%. But if you asked me to add up in my head, like, do you think this is possible with Resident Evil 2 happening, Resident Evil 3 happening? Sure seems like Resident Evil 4 is the next logical step. And so they've got it out there that it's going to be developed externally, got some, a lot of things involved with that. But I think the real thing here is that people love Resident Evil 4. A lot of people have argued on this show that it shouldn't be remade because it's already good enough, that it's already a masterpiece. It doesn't need to be addressed again. And I saw a lot of discussion on Twitter that I thought was interesting. There were people who were like, in that camp, don't redo it, doesn't need to be redone. Others that were like, I'd look at it. And I think that's probably it more than anything. If I was Capcom as a business, people on both sides are going to want to see if it's been ruined by that or not. I mean, I'd go back. I don't think I need to replay Resident Evil 4, but if they made a remake, I'd replay it. I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, even no matter which side you fall on, would you replay it if it came out?
So the last time we talked about this on the show, I said this was going to be the one that they were doing next, and everybody disagreed with me. But it is. It's a sacred game, right? So I think So in my opinion, I think they remake it in a different way, right? Make it it's the same game, but make it like, like 2-2, basically. Like Remake 2, when they did it, it's very different at the same time as being true to the spirit of the original. Like if they make it different enough, that way the people who hate it can be like, well, it's way different than the original. It's fine. They changed a bunch of stuff. So it'll never get compared 1-to-1 to that game. It doesn't have to be. So you don't have to take chances with it, keep all the elements the same, but like do something different, make it a little crazy. They did it with 2, right? I'm sure they got some smart people over there that can figure out how to do 4 in a blazing new style,
Yeah.
That's my take.
Alex, you excited to play it?
It's one that growing up in the house that I did and never, I got around to it like maybe, but I never beat it. So it's like, it's one of those things where if it came around again, this would be the perfect time for me to jump in it. Even though I've heard from plenty of people, like it still controls well for Resident Evil stuff. I get the camp that doesn't, but from a business side, that's just money in the bank. Like, feels like it. When you talked about you're in the camp of, do we need it? No. Would I play it? Yes. That's what Capcom's banking on, because even most of the naysayers, I feel like, would still publicly, they may say they're not going to play it, but like it's Resident Evil 4. Like people are gonna play it, Well, they
need to play it so they can keep arguing that it didn't need to exist, right? Like they have to buy. Like they have to buy it.
Yeah. So and the quality has been. I don't know if this rumor says it's the same teams that have done RE2 and RE3, or I don't know how the development cycle would work, but for the most part, those games have been very high quality. And having that as one of probably, because the other rumor said that we're getting Resident Evil 8 next year, right? I don't know if anyone saw that or not.
I mean, they can be making both.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think they have to be exclusive. I mean, obviously there's enough teams, and if it's an external team that's working on it, it's totally possible. So I don't think that matters.
Yeah. But that seems to fit their, if Capcom is now wanting this to be a yearly thing, that would seem to fit, right? You put the new one out next year and then the RE4 the year after that, give a little breathing room in between the remakes. It all lines up in a smart way for Capcom.
Yeah. And Reiner, I don't even know why I'm asking this question. You would just play the crap out of a Resident Evil 4 remake.
Oh, definitely. I mean, if Capcom has an idea to make it better or reintroduce it in an interesting way, I'm all about it. I understand people saying like, something's perfect. It's like the Mona Lisa. You don't draw over that. You don't draw a car on top of, or put her in a car or something like that, right? It's art. Leave it, let it be. But if there is an interesting way to do it, I'm on board. If Alex wanted to play the game today, obviously it's dated, right? Like you go back to a game like that and it looks old, right? Like it's not like playing a Mario game where everybody just accepts pixel graphics as perfection. Like those don't age. They look great. But whenever a game goes for realism, the previous generation, which we thought looked great back then, suddenly doesn't look great anymore, right? Like, so maybe Capcom just has to, up the graphics, make it look more realistic for today's standards, or do something like they did, like Dan said, like Res Evil 2, change it up enough where people don't hold it in the same breath. It's just kind of a parallel, right? Of like Res Evil 4 was here, and where does the new one stack up compared to it?
Which would you prefer, Reiner? Which would you want? Would you want a remake that just looks better? That's like play for play the original game, or would you like one that's reinvented?
Since I've gone through the first one like 3 or 4 times, I would like something new.
Yeah,
just to change it up and surprise me. But that's because I love the first one so much that it's like in my memory, right? Like I can remember a lot of that game, and going through it again, I'd probably burn out on it, to be honest, just because I know it so well. So yeah, I would like something different, like Res Evil 2 or 3.
Yeah, that's cool. I think it's always like in times like these, and I know this is a ridiculous request, that you wish that they would do both, right? That you could click a button and be like, or, on the menu screen, pick, I want original, I want remastered. You know what I mean? So you get both, like you get one with the better graphics and you get a new experience, kind of both at the same time. And I know that's asking a lot, but I think that would be great. But I think as an informal poll here, Capcom, you might be onto something with a Resident Evil 4 remake, since we want 100% that we would play it. And I think everyone who's saying they're not going to play it out there is going to play it. I really do think that's going to happen.
Is there? But oops, sorry.
No problem. But I did have, so the community asked a lot of questions about remakes this week, particularly because of Final Fantasy, which we will touch again in the community section, which once again, if you have questions, podcast@gameinformer.com is where you send those questions to. But I thought it was very funny that multiple people commented about remakes. And then we had two that suggested, Matthew Murray and Jared Barzee, both recommended that Ocarina of Time be a game that is remastered, redone. It's been a long time since that came out. It would be great if Nintendo would do that again. So I think the question that they asked us was, if you could pick one game to be remade, can't be Resident Evil 4, can't be Final Fantasy 7 at least. What is there a game that you guys would choose? So I'm kind of interjecting some community here in this, but I think it's a good question on this subject. Is there a game that you would like to see remade, remastered?
Yeah, I would do Half-Life 2 and then give us closure and just be done with it. Give us new gen graphics, redo some of the puzzles and gameplay, and then have it be a conclusion finally.
So you would add episode 3 to that?
Yep. Or
essentially, yeah.
Yeah. Or alter the ending of 2 so you don't have to have one or whatever.
So would you want that to be a setup for us to finally get 3?
I don't want them to ever be set up for anything Half-Life again. I would like it. I would like a Half-Life Alyx 2 or a Half-Life 3, but given their track record with Half-Life 2, just leaving it be. I don't want them ever to be in a position of making a sequel.
Yeah, I think that's a good choice. It's a good choice. Dan, you're in your thinker pose.
I am. See, there's always the kind of a monkey's paw thing going on, saying like, "Oh, I want a remake of this game," because maybe the remake doesn't live up to the original. In a lot of ways. But I guess I'd go with Final Fantasy IV actually. And I'd like to see it, instead of just having it up-res or new graphics or anything like that, you change the battle system completely, make it like a new gen action style RPG kind of deal. I think that would be very cool. And that takes some tinkering, obviously, but I think that would be pretty neat.
Yeah. Well, I think with the success, at least as far as I can tell, with Final Fantasy VII, I would think Square would be looking very seriously at other Final Fantasies that they could remake, I would think. So, Alex, what game?
And I'm going to stay in the Final Fantasy realm, actually, because I just beat 7. It's been on my mind lately. And this may be blasphemy, so I apologize to the rest of the community. I would love to see Final Fantasy 6/3 with, everyone always says it's the greatest, one of the greatest. I want to see it with the turn-based system still attached, but I want to see it with Octopath Traveler graphics. So just update those visuals to now. And I see Dan sneering down there.
It's not serious. So you mean, so the graphics it already has pretty much? I'm confused.
But that modern sheen that Octopath brought to it. So I just personally, I want to see more games in that style. And because I think that pixel art was incredible. And I think it could lend itself well to, because I think Octopath did well, but it wouldn't have the breadth that Final Fantasy. If you said this is Final Fantasy 6 with this visuals, I think it would blow up, and I think it would do quite well on the Switch. Anywhere, but especially on the Switch, I'd love to play it there.
Yeah, it's a good choice. I don't know if I have a good choice or a bad choice, but I feel like Super Mario 64, just in the way it changed so many things, with just analog and as a platformer, I think that would be a really interesting one to go back and have Nintendo give a fresh sheen to and bring it to a lot of people that probably haven't played it. So
you may be
that's my choice.
If rumors are true, you may be in luck.
If rumors are true, I know. I think that would be cool. So I'm on board with that. So thank you guys for giving your input on that. And obviously, apparently, if you were a Japanese developer and you made a game that mattered in the 90s, or you should get out there and make a remake.
Bring it back.
Yeah. So one of the things that happened recently in the world of games was that the World of Warcraft released its alpha for Shadowlands to the greater public. Now, Dan has already played a decent amount when he went out to our cover story for multiple Blizzard games back in December, which was a just crazy cover with Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4 and Shadowlands and some stuff on Hearthstone. So, I mean, it was bonkos the amount of stuff we had in there, but I got a chance to finally play. I got in the alpha as well. I started to play a little bit last night. It focuses on an area called Bastion. So Dan, I think you've played it a little bit too. Let's talk a little WoW. Bring in a little Respec Radio to the Game Informer show.
Absolutely. So we only get to play a very small slice in the current alpha, but that's going to change rapidly from what I've led to understand. They're going to add new zones and areas you can go to, including one we'll talk about later. But let's settle on. Let's talk about Bastion for now.
Okay.
I am thoroughly unimpressed with the zone in general, as I was when I saw it for the first time. I think it's the least interesting of the new 4 Afterlife zones. So Shadowlands takes place in World of Warcraft's Afterlife. You're actually like in forms of what we would consider heaven, hell, and everything in between. Different various forms of Afterlife that you may see characters from World of Warcraft who have passed on, and they're in their respective zones. The first one, Bastion, is like, literally drawn from like parallels to like Elysium or a heavenly place. There are angels. Actually, it is an incredible looking zone.
Yeah, it is. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
But it being the first zone we go to in the Afterlife on our path, it's kind of boring for the setup. You're doing the same stuff that you've always been doing in World of Warcraft. Loading up on 3 quests, going out, killing some bugs, picking up parts, and just going from place to place. A lot more exciting stuff to come, but it is it's a very dry transition for somebody who's like, wow, I can't wait to see what Shadowlands is all about. Well, from the look of it on Zone 1, Day 1, you're going to be doing a lot of the same activities you've always been doing. There are big differences, though. I
would like to point out, I did feel like it was doing onboarding. Like they wanted people who were new to the game to get like that. It was kind of one of those things like, am I really playing the like explain the game to me level again? And that's what this one feels a lot like, that it is explaining World of Warcraft again, which I think for you and I who are experienced players is definitely a little drab.
For sure. This is where you're going to start your experience in the Afterlife at level 50, since all the levels are being squished back. So we're going to actually go to 60 again.
Which, by the way, when I logged in, I was like, 50? I worked so hard to get over to it. I was like, what are you doing? And then I remembered that we were getting squashed. Yeah. So
some of the cool new stuff you can play with in the new zone now are the Covenant specific abilities. So being Bastion, eventually you're going to sign on with the Covenant semi-permanently in this expansion. That's going to give you a class ability and a Covenant ability that are specific to your Covenant. So getting to play with those is pretty neat. And there is one dungeon you can currently do in the alpha, which is the Bastion, the one that's located in Bastion. It's actually a little harder than most introductory dungeons, actually, based on my first couple runs. There's like mechanics in there that are pretty daunting for I would say, a player just coming into World of Warcraft. There's a fight where you've got to arrange. You're fighting an abomination. These big scourge undead things. I'm sure you've seen them around. If you're familiar with World of Warcraft,
once or twice.
I'm sure Andy's seen thousands of them probably. But you've got to like aim his meat hook up at the guy on the platform. The actual boss is on a platform and you can't hit him. So you've got to like get targeted by his meat hook and then line of sight the meat hook into the actual boss to pull him down to the arena several times during the fight.
Are we just talking about Overwatch at this point?
Well, the hook mechanic has been in a lot of games, Alex. Okay. Not Overwatch.
Alex.
Oh, that rascal.
So zone is very pretty. Very, very pretty zone. Things you're doing in it, not so interesting. However, again, I'm very excited about some of the stuff that we're going to get to play with in the alpha very soon, from what I'm led to believe. And one of those is the roguelike dungeon crawl that's going to be a big cornerstone of the end game in this expansion. It's called Torghast, the Jailer's Tower. Very much inspired by Slay the Spire. You're going to be having a different experience in there every single time, powering up your character, using different abilities. Like, it's wacky. Like, from the examples they gave me when I was out there at Blizzard, like, just you can create like, a rat stomping character that's going to like drain the life of all like the plague rats in the tower and just blow them up. And you can use that to finish off. Each run is going to be very different. It's not going to be like playing traditional WoW. It is going to be in a lot of ways like sort of building a set of different abilities and stuff to sort of power through that tower each time. And that's how you're going to be getting legendary rewards in this expansion. It's designed for like, MMOs have always had this big problem for me and for like a ton of people, where you lose sort of the variants and encounters. Like, okay, I'm doing this dungeon again. Sweet. It's Mythic 5, it's Mythic 7, whatever. You still know everything that's going to be in there, right? So this kind of adds that roguelike procedural element to it where every run is different, tons of replayability, and they're even going to have like weekly or monthly events in there. So it's going to change all the time. Like you're going to go in there one week and it's going to have a different set of mechanics than it will have the previous week. It's completely crazy. And we're going to get to play it, I think,
very soon.
Week, maybe. Yeah. If not, maybe by the time this podcast airs.
Yeah. So, and I think one of the things there too was that you can have, they wanted you to be more powerful. So like you said, you could make a build that does a lot of ice damage, but then you come across someone that's, that is already ice. And so you don't do as much damage. And that's kind of where you like hit a wall in your progress in this world, right? Like it's meant to play with those kind of mechanics. Yeah.
And it's not supposed to be like a one and done. You can run it many different times and it's going to be a different moveset every time. You're going to like try to figure things out as you go. Like maybe you get like a shadow damage move that you can augment with shadow damage boost. Like every time you do shadow damage, you have a chance to stun. Start stacking up those things. Start like because you're going to get like choices, right? Just like it's a crazy new concept. It's basically giving the MMO a procedurally generated roguelike dungeon kind of feel.
I love that. It's the thing I'm most interested in this new game. I will say this though, in the current build of WoW, they went into this whole thing with this like assaults that feed into these visions. The smaller visions feeds into this bigger vision, which switches between two places, being Stormwind or Orgrimmar, and they're boring. Like they're a lot boring. And not only that, WoW wants you to do them a lot. Like you needed to level up your cloak. At the end, you needed to do essentially 4 runs that were, max distance. And either you could make them really hard, or not really hard, but like challenging, or you could do them on a very, very easy scale. But it was essentially a lot of, I felt like, worthless grinding. Sure. And, that was their idea of how we can make things more interesting and more varied. And I felt like it fell flat on its face. So I feel like they have a lot to prove with this expansion.
I think they have a ton to prove. I think BFA was, while I was quite enamored with it at first, it definitely fell off very quickly in terms of progression. I think this Torghast thing is going to address exactly that kind of stuff, where endgame tasks can turn into these really repetitive and boring things that you're just going to keep doing the same thing over and over. I think in a way it's sort of like what the island were supposed to be, sort of this.
Yeah, but that's the thing, Dan. The islands were supposed to be, and they weren't.
Supposed to be, yes.
These visions were supposed to be, and they weren't. This tower is supposed to be, and we don't know, right? I mean, we don't know. I have high expectations based on what I saw when I was out there, and what hopefully we get to see in a few days. But you're right. Right now, we don't know. What we do know is we've got Bastion, okay, which is a very cool looking area, very introductory. Some of the other areas that I got a chance to see, especially Revendreth, which I wrote up a thing on. Yeah, which you loved.
It's like Revendreth is the coolest zone I have ever seen in World of Warcraft,
yeah.
And it's not just because I like Bloodborne, but it is so sick. All right, you're gonna flip when you see the zone, Andy. It's ginormous. It's gothic horror. It's like people are going to go nuts when they see the zone, and I think we get to access it pretty soon in the alpha. Actually,
I hope so.
It's going to be the final of the 4 zones you get to go to in the leveling process of the new expansion.
I did notice, I mean, when I was playing in the new area, I did with all the people with wings and stuff. I was like, I should be playing my paladin. It actually made me miss my paladin a little bit. I was like, I should play my paladin more. Oh, it feels very like proper angel, like. Right. It's got that kind of good vibe to it. It is a little boring at this point, to your point. I did notice that I feel like there's a bunch of new races in this one. And given the fact that WoW has introduced so many new races, every time I look at someman, I go, they're going to make that a playable race. Like the little owl people that are like dwarves / owls. I was like, they're totally going to put those out.
Man. They might.
So it feels like to some degree, some of those things are in place, but I'm hopeful for this expansion. I think they gave us content here at the end of this last one, and I hope that means that the whole team had time and effort to work towards this next expansion, and that it's going to be a game changer for anyone that hasn't played WoW in a while. One of the biggest complaints about the current build was that essences were limited to the single characters. They finally did recently make that more accessible to your alts, which made playing alts, I think, more feasible again. In the past, playing alts was really essentially frowned upon this whole entire expansion. So I'm hopeful. I think they got a lot. I mean, WoW fans like myself are probably going to play it no matter what. But I think if they want to move the game forward, this is the time. They need to start working on moving this game forward.
And I'm very hopeful that, Torghast does some work there. And I also hope that giving you a sense of identity when you side with one of these factions at the end, that gives you all kinds of different progression tree stuff, including like your abilities, your moves, your passives, and your mount and upgradable cosmetics. Like you are supposed to identify with one of these factions and really get into it for like a long-term end game progression chain. I know they've tried stuff like this in the past, for sure.
Yeah, and that's the stuff that when you say it, I go, that's cool, but it also makes me uncomfortable because I know how they do it, and that they do it and they make it where it's difficult to change. And then the character I have, if I want to min-max and be the best I have to be the other one. And it just creates a bunch of worthless effort that is discouraging and disheartening, because they can't make it where you go talk to some NPC and just switch over. Yeah, they have to make it difficult.
I agree. Like like you said, a lot of these things have been tried before. Like the whole like faction identity thing is just very similar to like, class halls and garrisons and stuff like that. It's a progression of them. But this time, everything that I've seen so far has me excited to see it. Whether or not it pans out remains to be seen.
Yeah, remains to be seen. So I'm excited, but I'm also wary. So, but let's hope the alpha gets out there. And I know tons of people are dying to play it. So hopefully they'll get more codes out there for people to get a chance to play it a little bit more.
I think, they are going to have, I think they've said that there's going to be like multiple waves of codes going of access going out at various points in the beta when different zones and stuff are available. So
yeah, let's hope. That is our game talk for this episode. We're going to come back here shortly and address, I think, a lot of great questions this week, by the way. The GI community, the GI crew, the information that is out there. I think it was one of the suggested names, by the way. I'm going through the suggested names. You guys are doing a great job out there, sending in a lot of great questions. I think you're going to really enjoy that. We have some great Kiss, Marry, Kills. We have, I think, really fun GI Town. And some great comments from the community that I think are a lot of fun. So we'll be right back. Hello, and welcome back to the Game Informer Show. I am your host, Andy McNamara, and we are about to embark on the second half of this episode, where we do community emails, some fun games that we've created over the time here, the GI show, the GI Town, where we're building a crazy town of video game characters and problems that come along with it. And of course, Kiss, Marry, Kill, and some other fun emails and interactions. So welcome back. And welcome back, my great panel, which includes Alex Stadnik. How are you doing?
I am great. I also would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge how much of an idiot I am, because the first response I should have given you when you asked me for the remake that I wanted was Mass Effect. I can't believe in the moment I didn't say that. I want a Mass Effect trilogy remake. Give me the combat in 4 and give me that story again. I just had to acknowledge my stupidity. So
wait a second, Mass Effect 4?
Like,
you want from Andromeda?
Excuse me.
Yeah, you want Andromeda combat. Okay, just gotcha.
Keep proving my moronic spirit. So, but yeah, Andromeda combat I thought was actually good. So, give me that. Sorry, everyone.
No, I think it's a great idea. I mean, like, I agree. I don't know why we don't have that remake of all three having a standardized combat and interaction. It would be a huge hit. You're totally right. And for the rest of my panel, hopefully you have something you'd like to change from an answer from a previous portion, is Andy Reiner. How are you doing, Andy?
What did I do wrong?
You know what you did.
Now I'm all freaked out. I got to go listen to the beginning of the episode.
Just remember, all your choices are always wrong. That's the way it works.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Well, welcome back. And Farm Life, Dan, the Jacket Tack, how you doing?
We say down on the farm, we say no take backsies. All right. You're locked into that choice.
That's fair.
You're really sticking with that duck as a farm animal, huh?
You know what? I maintain, maybe they're not the most forward-facing farm animal like a cow or a chicken, but they are farm animals.
Yeah. I mean, you can get duck pate, right? So you got to farm ducks to do that, right? I hear you. It's just a weird choice. It is a weird choice.
I can show you duck farms. They do exist.
No, we're not saying they don't exist. We just think when you think farms, that it's not the first animal that's not the first animal that pops in your head.
Yeah.
You know, that is true.
It's not the 10th animal that pops in your head. Just
it might
FYI.
be. It might be in the top 10.
I don't think so.
Top 10 farm animals. Can I see duck? Yeah, it's like number 9, right?
No,
it's like I don't think so.
Maybe it's like right next to crocodile.
Crocodile? No.
Crocodile?
No. That's like an exotic
farm. There's crocodile farms, Dan.
There are crocodile farms. Okay. You look at like an infant toy, all right, where it's going to make barnyard sounds. A duck will be on there. A crocodile will not.
Okay, fair. That's a fair point in this ludicrous argument. Yeah,
it is. We're already in insane land here.
Yeah, we're insane land. I mean, I think those toys are made to like do animal noises, and the duck has a very famous animal noise. It is not a famous.
On there.
There's no elephant on the barnyard noise wheel. All right.
All right. How about this
noise wheel?
Do you think a duck is a zoo animal too, Dan?
Oh, I'm gonna get trapped here. In the same sense that any animal could be a zoo animal, yes, but not normally, no.
You just dodged the question. I'm done with you. I'm done with this conversation.
You can put anything in a zoo.
Whatever. This is silliness. All right. Let's continue. We're going to start this episode a little differently. We're going to start with GI Town. Let's go. I'm changing things up a little bit this week. So here we go. Love the podcast. A suggestion for GI Town Society would be nothing without music. GI Town isn't any different. What 5 video game characters would you choose to make a rock band? Who's the lead singer, guitarist, drummer, bassist? And I love it. At this point, he just puts etc., which is essentially keyboard player. You just put etc. or keyboard player. Either one works. Keep up the good work. Alexis from Florida. We also received a suggestion from Anthony from Ashland, Kentucky. And he added that he would like us to name that band and what genre of music would they play. So it's in total wild, crazy. We got 2 of the same requests. So this one wins. We're going to make the GI Town band first and foremost. Let's start with let's work our way up to lead singer, right? I think we try to fill it up as like individual spots, right? So with the etc., let's start. Who plays keyboard in this band? Or we could say horns. You could say horns.
Cowbell.
But I think keyboard or cowbell. Oh, let's do cowbell. Yeah. Let's make cowbell our etc.
Yeah.
So, oh boy.
Who plays cowbell in our band?
Who's just ridiculous.
So I guess, does that just mean that the only song we play is like "Don't Fear the Reaper" or whatever?
It's the only one that has a cowbell.
Like, any suggestions? We need a crazy out there video game character to play cowbell. How about because he never speaks and doesn't seem to, how about Luigi?
It's not bad.
All right. We could get Bubsy out here for this. He's always available.
Bubsy again. You ducks, Bubsy?
I haven't mentioned any ducks this segment.
I just want to say, everyone else we talked to during this quarantine at week 5, everyone else seems pretty normal. I'm worried about you, Dan. You have turned into a weird, duck-loving, Bubsy-loving. I'm concerned. Do I need to send anyone over there to check in on you?
I mean, I think I'm okay.
You think you're okay?
I think I'm maybe better than ever,
Maybe. Any other suggestions for our cowbell player?
How about Kratos?
Yeah. He gives it a mean look.
Ridiculous.
Well, it's a very physical. You want to like hit it, right? Like next to drums, you're actually doing a pretty big motion. So that guy, he could really hit that sucker.
All right, I hear you.
What about Tingle from Legend of Zelda, or like the salesperson from like Wind Waker? That guy. I feel like that could fit. You know what I'm talking about? No.
I mean, I
think we all know who Tingle is.
Yeah.
I like Tingle. I mean, I think Tingle just like kind of is a totally weird, outrageous choice. So I'm kind of in on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is the first time I think I've agreed with an Alex suggestion in a very long time.
All right. So we got our cowbell player. Who is the bassist? We're working our way up here.
The dude from Brutal Legend.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
no, he
nice.
played guitar. But yeah.
Eddie. Eddie. What's his name? What's his last name? I don't know.
If I would have known that, I would have said the name. Like it escapes me.
Yeah. Eddie Riggs.
Eddie Riggs. Yeah.
Eddie Riggs.
Yeah.
All right. Bass player. Even though I think he would feel like he's been moved down. Did he?
Yeah. We can. Sorry, it's my bad.
Yeah.
We can move him to lead guitar.
But I don't know. It's our list.
He was just a roadie.
Yeah, that's true.
But
that's fair.
That's huge.
His main weapon was the guitar, though, right?
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, he used it the wrong way.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah.
So next spot is a drummer, which by the way, this is hard for me because I just feel like Animal from the Muppets should be the drummer in every band. I don't know why, but that's just a belief I have. So, but we probably can't. I mean, that would be picking. I'm sure he's been in a game, but we don't. I think that's a bad choice. Unfortunately, we need a video game character. But I just want everyone to know it hurts me inside. I think it should be Animal. Any suggestions?
Kratos there.
I was gonna say Kratos, like God of War 3 era, would be good for that.
And two
style like snare hits that sound like shotgun blasts. Like
yeah. And he could have the chains to his drumsticks so he could like shoot them out over the crowd and bring them back.
Yes.
And keep going, right? Like that's pretty
rad.
Cool. Yeah.
And
that's pretty cool.
Oh, it'd be awesome.
Yeah. I like that a lot.
Young Kratos, not boring dad Kratos.
Yeah. Not morally corrected Kratos.
Yeah, living in a cabin.
Lots of hey, he's almost like Animal. He's screaming a lot. I'm in. I think Kratos is an amazing choice for drummer. Yeah. All right, so guitarist. This one's a little harder.
Mr. Bones.
Mr. Bones. Yeah, that's pretty metal. Yeah.
Skeleton guitar player on
pretty metal.
Saturn. He's been out of work for a while.
And by the way, I cannot believe you brought that up that quick as a reference. I'm like kind of blown away.
He's been waiting to use Mr. Bones as an answer for years, probably for something.
I've been waiting for this question.
And by the way, I was immediately like, yeah, Mr. Bones. Like for both, I can't believe that conversation happened in 2020. All right. Yeah. Mr. Bones. Any other recommendations for guitarists? That's a good one.
He's a good rhythm guitarist.
Okay. Yeah, gotcha. All right. I'm surprised you didn't say Bug, like as far as like weird references from that era.
But we need someone with flair for lead guitarist. You know what I mean? Like someone outrageous that can slide on the knees, tongue out, wailing on like solos.
Mm.
That's not Mr. Bones.
It's not Mr. Bones. All right.
Mr. Bones can pull it off. He's got like some Social Distortion-esque vibes going on. He can do it.
So we need somebody out there. We need somebody really out there.
Okay.
This is hard, actually. I'm trying to think what is the most like kind of flamboyant over the top.
What? Kefka. We can get Kefka to do it.
Kefka.
Yeah, Final Fantasy VI antagonist. Antagonist. It's a completely crazy psychopath, very flamboyant.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
What about Dante?
Yeah. All right. I hear you. I like that.
Wearing the jacket, no t-shirt or any kind of shirt.
He's got a look. He might be a good lead singer too.
No.
Yeah, he's got lead singer all over.
Because he's good looking. He's got the handsome, thing going on. Like he's got it. I feel like that's a good lead singer too. Or you pick just someone ridiculous for lead singer once again. You know what I mean? Like, Link, he just never says anything, right? Like you're like, when's he gonna sing? And he's just standing up there.
Experimental band.
Hold the sword up, like you're like, come on, man. Let's hear it, Link. And he doesn't never do anything. I like Dante as the lead singer.
Okay.
I still feel like
it could have a female version, and that would be Bayonetta.
Oh, that's good too.
Yeah.
That's good too.
That's definitely good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I bet she wails. Like I bet she can sing. Okay. All right. Tell you what, I think it's Reiner. You were made for this.
Yeah. It's like you really were or something.
Yeah. You were really made for this. So I think what we have lined up would be Tingle on cowbell, Eddie Riggs on bass, Kratos on drums, Mr. Bones. This is 6. We've added Mr. Bones as like backup guitar. He's just hanging out in back, chilling.
Yeah.
What's up? Right. Dante is playing guitar. jacket open, showing what he's got. And then we have as our singer, Bayonetta. And like she's doing flips. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like Tommy Lee on the drum set spinning around the whole time, right? Yeah. I think is essentially what you get. That's a good band.
I feel like we got to get Sephiroth in there or something though, but I agree.
Hey, tell you what, it could be the Sephiroth singers, right? that are in the back that are just doing the like chorus in the back whenever we need it. So we have the Sephiroth singers, right?
Okay.
And so it's a bunch of normal people who just have Sephiroth wigs on.
Okay.
That's the Sephiroth singers.
This is becoming a real band awful fast, man.
Well, it's a production, right? Yeah. I mean, we're getting it's you know, you're not a good band if you can't put on a good live show. And let me tell you right now, this band can put on a good live show. There's no doubt.
Hell of a show. Yeah.
So the last two parts were that what genre of music would they play? And also what would be the name of this band? What do we name this band?
Heaven's Fallen.
It's so bad. It's good. It's so bad. It's good.
One Square Enix title coming at you right there.
The angel falling on the album art. Heaven's Fallen.
Oh my!
That is good.
Yeah.
That is golden.
Yeah.
Heaven's Fallen. Sephiroth.
Okay. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You got it. That's what's happening there.
Yeah.
This is on the money. Okay. All right. And so, I mean, they have to play, I think as far as music goes, it has to be that weird genre. And I don't even know what genre it is, but that like heavy metal that comes out of Japan where they sing things that are happening in a video game. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like
One-Winged Angel is what you're
Yeah, like all those things. Like we're just like, what is going on in this song?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that has to be it, right? Like that has to be like
does that even have a name?
What?
Does that genre even have a name?
I don't know what it is, but it's like it seems like it's unique to video games, right? Like I feel like that's a video game thing that happened and still happens every once in a while.
I love it.
Yeah. I can't really argue with it.
So, Heaven's Fallen. Heaven's Fallen.
Catch the brand new album. We got to get some cover art, you know?
I gotta say, this is a GI Town thing that I'm very excited about. I want to see this. I want to see this band. This would be amazing.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you for the question, Alexis from Florida and Anthony from Kentucky. The coincidence was too real for us not to do it. So thank you. So let's get into emails. Hello. I got a couple questions for you and the panel. Who would your official mascot be for GI Town? That's his first question, which, I mean, Fallen Angel, no, Heaven's Fallen is who it is, right? I kind of feel like there's like towns that are defined by the, like, you know, Bruce Springsteen's from here. That's that town's like, that's our town's claim to fame. This is where this band is from, right? Don't you think? I think so.
I'm surprised you haven't said Chewbacca yet.
Oh God,
we use him for everything else.
He can't be the mascot too. Yeah.
You know, you can't just make him a mascot.
We could make him the mascot.
Say, are you yelling at me or Disney?
I know. I'm being ridiculous. I don't know. Do you think there should be another mascot out there?
Potentially. We got to somehow turn the GI logo into a mascot. That's the tough task here.
We used to have a long time ago. We had the Vidiot, which we made at one point in time, and like it was like a kind of a dumb joke that we were like we were playing off of a little bit. So,
I mean, we always got Darth Clark. We can just use him.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, he is kind of, I think Darth Clark is a good choice. He kind of is. And the funny thing about him is that he's clip art. And there was and at one point someone found a book that someone had published that had Darth Clark on the cover of it. And it was very funny.
That kid's like 40 now.
At least 40. At least 40. He's probably
in his 60s.
Yeah. He probably has a kid now that looks a lot like him that's taken his role out there in the world as a clip art cool dude. All right. So let's the next part of this question, though, just to finish it up, is, are you guys do anything non-video game related during this time? I have been watching the Expanse TV show, and it is fantastic. Thanks for all the fantastic work from Robbie Bryant from Smithville, Yeah, I've heard a lot of great things about The Expanse. Expanse on my list of things that I want to watch. I have not watched it yet, but I'm glad to hear that you're enjoying the show. As far as non-video game things that we've been doing, I'm gonna, for myself, I feel like I've been working way too much during this thing. Like work has been like a lot. It's been kind of crazy. And I know, by the way, I'm not here to say like complain, and I'm very happy to have work, and I know it's a tough time out there, but it's been really weird. I've had less downtime than I want. But I have. Yeah. What do you? I
think some of that has to do with the transition. Like, it never feels like my day ends anymore.
Yep.
Like, yeah. I don't have like that line. It's like I wake up at 8. I'm like, well, I'm already here. I'm already at work. Let's start cooking.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's kind of weird. And then of course all of the challenges that come with transitioning into our vibrant office turning into a work from home kind of setup.
Yeah.
I think both those things together make it interesting.
Yeah. I mean, the first thing I see every day when I wake up, that's my bed right there. I see my setup, and it instantly reminds me, it's like I have to do A, B, and C. Like, yeah, it's hard to find that separation now.
It is.
Yeah, for me, I don't have the drive anymore. So that is just work time, right? Like the drive in and out is just constant work time. So I'm more productive, but at the same time, I have to be a first grade teacher as well. Like I got to do schoolwork with my daughter, who's upstairs playing video games right now. So I'm crushing that.
Yeah. Best teacher ever.
Yeah. But I will say, What We Do in the Shadows, I'm looking forward to that tonight. The new episode airs on, I think it's Hulu's going to have it. But if you have not watched that show, for whoever recommended The Expanse, watch What We Do in the Shadows.
I haven't heard of that. The
movie is so good.
Oh, it's all great.
Yeah.
It's like one of the best shows ever, like in my opinion.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been just riding my bike a lot, which is a Zwift update. I'm still gonna, for people out there that Zwift, we're gonna get a GI Zwift thing going somewhere along the line. And I watched the Tiger King just like everybody else.
Yep.
But I would say this: I've seen some people doing this with their quarantine time. If you did not watch the Watchmen HBO thing, if you missed that, it's so good. It's so good.
You are tapping into two of the things I was going to talk about, actually.
Yeah. So do you have any other recommendations, Alex, since I stole them?
Oh, I was just going to say, I just finished Watchmen.
You did?
Like 2 weeks ago. Whenever time's irrelevant at this point. But yeah. And I would say the stretch of episodes 6, 7, and 8 are some of the best TV ever. That story they tell is incredible, and it took a character that I didn't think a ton of in the original source material and really gave him a powerful, really interesting backstory, which I really, really loved. And I don't want a season 2. I think they ended it as perfectly as they could have. There's some things that,
good news is you're not getting it. It's
exactly.
it's not happening.
Yeah. And I think Lindelof said that from the beginning. He's like, I have this one story, and this was like the third attempt people like tried to get him to do something Watchmen related, and he's so beholden to that story. He's not going to try to run that out. I didn't realize there was a podcast with it like they did with Chernobyl, so I listened to that too, and it is fascinating. So fully into Watchmen. And Tiger King was a wild ride.
It's insane.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Two questions for you. Is the last episode of Tiger King worth seeing? The one they just launched?
I haven't seen it yet.
The series ended?
Haven't seen it yet. I've heard it's just kind of like they kind of skate over some of the controversies and don't really go in depth on them. So
yeah, I don't like it when they add something after it got popular.
Yeah,
that's a thing for me. I'm like, no, I'm not buying more in.
Yeah. Also, there's a lot of people like taking sides. And like, it was fascinating to watch, and these characters are very interesting. They're all terrible people, though. Like, other than like, I don't think it was Reiner, but it was someone with the person who managed the zoo, and then some of the workers seem like really good people, but the rest of them, like, no, like, there's no sides here. They're just all bad.
Yeah, it's a tragic tale. That's for sure.
Question 2: if you liked Watchmen, did you watch The Leftovers?
I haven't yet. Is it worth it?
Yeah, same creator.
Yep.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's on HBO.
Is it?
Yeah, that's. That's one I want to watch. That's one I want to watch. I haven't watched that one yet. I've heard that same thing, Reiner. So good recommendation.
Yeah. Is it too dark for right now? Because it's about people who are left over after the biblical apocalypse, right?
Yeah, just people disappear, but it's like what happened to them. Mm-hmm. How does life continue? I don't think it's too dark. But,
okay.
I mean, It is not a happy show. I'll tell you that much. But it isn't going to make you think about the pandemic, I don't think.
Okay. Cool.
And Dan?
I have been watching another show. I didn't think it was going to be this dark when I started it, but it's super dark. So I don't know if it's great pandemic fare, but I've really enjoyed it. It's Hunters. It's a show about basically a group of people who hunt down Nazis that came to America after World War II. Mm-hmm. Big high-ranking like SS officers and stuff. It's got like Al Pacino. It's an Amazon Prime thing. And one thing I really want to start doing is like I'm watching all this stuff, but like since we don't get to go out and talk to people or go to the movies with them anymore, like I'm gonna try to like start participating in like the Netflix and Amazon like watch party kind of things where you can with your friends. Yeah, I'm gonna start trying to do that too.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's and also I've been watching a lot of esports because I'm a nerd. What up? All right, next question. Hey, Andy and the McNamara's, how about an update on how that Dungeons and Dragons session is coming together, eh? You said on the podcast it's a great idea, but your lack of acting on it makes me feel like you still need a little persuading. So here we go. This lockdown lives where all living need a little more adventure and connecting with others, and I honestly can't think of a better remedy. All right. So he wants D&D. You want us to play a D&D game here. And he gives us more reasoning. He goes on for a while. Thank you, by the way, Charles from Brighton in the UK. You've made a good choice here. And I want to say this. I brought up the idea with Matt Miller and he bought in. And he was the most important person to buy in on this because Matt is an experienced DM and he would need to, because Matt doesn't just open up some available campaign and work on it. He has to create one and customize it for us. And so we've been working on it. I have not been dodging the question, though. We were trying to make sure we could do it, and we could do it in a good time frame. So we've been working on the logistics. We've been working on how we're going to pull this off. We think we're close. We're going to have a very important test run next week that you're not going to get to see, but that's where we're at. We're at a test run, and we think from there we are busy creating all the parts, and we think we can start episodes of that outside of the Game Informer podcast in May. So for anyone that's wondering, you want to sit in and watch some Dungeons and Dragons with the Game Informer crew, we're working on it. So now here's the thing. You guys have to watch it. If we make this thing, you have to watch it. Because I guess I'm going to have fun probably either way doing this. And I know Miller will. Or like no watchers, but we're really hoping people really enjoy this and get a chance to hear us be silly. And I think for us too, we're with you. We kind of want to hang out with each other during this quarantine. So there was a lot of arguments that we could have done maybe a better job holding out, waiting till we get back in the studio, but we're going to wing it for the fun, for the good of it. So it's coming. So thank you, Charles. I appreciate that.
I did a deep dive read on his campaign, Miller's campaign today. Man's just brilliant. And I'm so excited to show you guys what we're working on. It's going to be a fun time.
Yeah. Miller takes it very, very seriously. Yeah. He's not joking around.
No.
He also does, by the way, Top the Table. We do on the website all the time. It's a column that he's been running for a while. He's very knowledgeable about board games and things like that. I highly recommend if you're into those kind of things, you check it out. It does great. He does a lot of the stuff, board game coverage we're doing in the magazine now. Which we've got a lot of positive response on. Let me know what you think. podcast@gameinformer.com. So thank you. Or in the comments below. You can do that one too. How about that? I'm on fire with my promoting right now. All right. Hey, GI crew. I'm in my last semester in college and I'm so close to graduation. I've still got a lot to finish up, but a few weeks ago, I made the mistake of replaying Batman Arkham Asylum. Before I knew it, I decided to replay all of the games in the series. Even when I knew I should be getting some other work done, I couldn't put them down until I beat Arkham Knight, including all the side missions and Riddler trophies. That's a lot, by the way.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Finally finishing the series set me free, and I was able to catch up on all my work. Have you ever gotten so into a game or series that you put all responsibilities on hold until you finished?
Let me tell you something, kids, about a game called World of Warcraft. You don't want to know about this game.
So thanks, Caden from Arizona State University. He's been a big fan of the magazine for a while and points out in his PS that he just found out about the podcast and he hasn't missed a week yet since he found out. So thank you, Caden, for joining us on the podcast and reading the magazine. Really appreciate it. And that is a great question. And to Dan's point, it is literally our lives. We do this all the time. Maybe that's how we got our jobs, was that we're really good at putting things off and then being like, oh my gosh, I got to finish this. And then getting the actual work done. So do you guys have any examples of poor management because of games that you'd like to share? Oh, Reiner's nodding his head. Reiner.
Well, mine is I take a week off of work for Grand Theft Auto. Whenever there's a new Grand Theft Auto, back in the day, there was one every year or every other year, Vice City, San Andreas. But yeah, that's my big one where it's just like everything has to shut down. Nobody talk to me. I got to play this game.
Which I'd like to point out for anyone that doesn't know, Reiner cracks me up because Reiner will be like, I am taking the whole week off. I'm going to be gone. I'm not going to do anything. And then the very first day of his week off, he'll be at the office and he's like, well, I need to come in and do the replay, and I need to come in and do this. And you're like, Reiner, you're supposed to be playing Grand Theft Auto all week. And he's like, well, I got to get this done. And it cracks me up. It's like clockwork. He's like, but I'm off. I'm not working. I'm like, okay, you're not working. All right. Thanks, Reiner.
In my mind, I make it and I'm like, well, Cal Ripken did it in baseball. And he's a legend. So I'm just going to keep doing it. Even though it's just something nobody will ever know happened. Like, cool. You responded to those emails.
So to some degree, Reiner, you almost have to put off work to play games, even though you play games all the time for work. It's a confusing statement. Yeah.
It's for all of us. I think it's very strange, right? Like where it's like, even if you're playing something for fun, in the back of your mind, you're like, oh, this is for top 50 end of the year. I should play it more than I normally would, or like move on to something else. Like maybe I shouldn't play all the way through this. Maybe there's something else that's more pressing. So you're always on the clock. It's hard to disconnect.
It is. But I've definitely had like, oh, it's deadline. And I've been like, oh, I got to get this game done for deadline. Doop-a-doop-a-doop. Keep playing the game and come in and go like, hey, sorry, it's going to be a little late. I think my computer's broken. It's hard not to. How about you, Alex or Dan?
Sure. Like I wasn't kidding. I mean, World of Warcraft during Vanilla and Burning Crusade, that took priority over everything else in my life, to great detriment to those things. So they weren't kidding when they said, like, back then, they've made changes to the game. People complain about how it's too casual now. You did not want to play during those times where it was a lifestyle. Okay. Yeah. It was like, hey, Dan, what's up? Well, we need you to farm for 4 hours before the raid. And then we need you to then you're going to be leading the raid for 6 hours. And, then after that, maybe you can help somebody farm up their potions and elixirs for the next raid. Tomorrow, it's like, I got class tomorrow, guys. Like, whoa. Yeah. We think we gotta take down Velistraz. What are you doing? I'm like, all right.
Yeah, it's crazy. The other thing too is like not just put off work or school. I put off sleep.
Oh,
like,
sure.
Like way too many times. I just destroyed a sleep schedule over that.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Alex?
So I was notorious in high school for being sick when big releases would come out. And I had the audacity to be upset at people when they accused me of skipping for
Of course.
Yeah. Because I was like, no, I was actually sick. Like my stomach hurt real bad. But the specific ones were Mass Effect 2 and Halo Reach. I think I beat Mass Effect 2. I got it on that Friday, and I'm very thankful my parents and teachers didn't know the cadence of releases. But yeah, I beat that in a weekend, and Halo Reach I think I beat pretty quickly on that sick day too, because both my parents worked, so they didn't see me go down to the TV and boot stuff up. So yeah, basically any big Xbox release, I pretty much fake sick, and sure that helps my GPA a lot.
So did you do this? I have to ask, did you, like, when your parents were away, you were like, everything's fine and you're playing and everything's great, and then the second they walked in the house, would you like throw the blanket over your head and then go like, oh, I've been sleeping for the last 7 hours. Yeah, you acted it up, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I definitely. I had my setup in the basement. My room was upstairs, so like I knew every day that like my dad would get home at like 4:45, my mom at 5:30. So at like 4:30, 4:15 ish, if I wanted to play it safe, run back upstairs, throw everything back on. Even sometimes I would like pretend to be asleep too, like the whole 9 yards. There's a whole high school Alex is something you guys have no concept of.
Then you'd be like, I've been sleeping all day. I might just take a break and play some video games for a little bit. I mean, I've just been, I can't sleep anymore. Yeah. I'm so much sleep.
Yeah, it was bad. I was not a good high school student, but that's okay because I'm here now.
It's okay.
So,
all right. It's a good question. I like that. It's fun. Good. I've lived my life that way. So here we go. Hello, GI crew. I've been noticing a few stories about the limited time events in Animal Crossing being too short, too many occurring at the same time and being a grind. From my perspective, the grind is self-imposed. Animal Crossing is a slow game where taking years to pay off debt while socializing through seasonal events is the whole game's premise. What others see is FOMO is supposed to be an reason to socialize, trade, and wait till next year to complete a seasonal furniture set. But there are way too many that just want to grind it through and get it all done. So basically, gamers are min-maxing like crazy to build elaborate towns, catch all fish, insects, and farm resources for limited events like crazy. There are many corners of the internet saying Nintendo needs better and more events, but I don't think that's fair to ask considering this fervor is so increased due to COVID-19 and just player behavior. I'd like to add that to a sentence. So the whole situation has got me thinking about the grind culture and consumer company relationships. What does consumers when does consumers play style outweigh a company's intentions versus a company sticking to its purpose as at the risk of its player base? Thanks for reading. San Solis, San Antonio, Texas. So I think it's an interesting question in a lot of ways, because I do think there's people that play Animal Crossing min-maxing like crazy, moving time forward, trying to get everything out of it as quickly as possible. And there's others who are, it's a chill game. I'll play it. I'll talk to some people, pick up some stuff, do some fishing, right? So how do you guys feel about people that min-max a game like that's probably not intentionally meant to be min-maxed, right? I mean, is that a fair assumption?
I think it can be. And here's the funny thing about Animal Crossing. I mean, I got a lot of friends who play Animal Crossing that would never touch an MMORPG, right?
Yeah.
But it basically is an MMORPG. It's a grindy, crafting oriented MMORPG that's econ based, that you get benefits from, socializing with your friends. And they are all like crazy min-maxers. Like they're like, well, we got to get everything done today because there's like a timer. Basically, you want to get X things done during a day so that when next day rolls over, something gets built or something new appears. Otherwise, you have to wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. They all try to do that stuff as fast as possible. I mean, and these are not min-max, what I would normally consider to be min-max players. But the game definitely directs you in that regard. I think you can, and during a few weeks back when I was really sick, that's all I was doing in the game, was just fishing and not progressing at all.
Well, I expect you to min-max.
Well, yeah, but
that's what I expect you to do. I was shocked. People on Twitter, everyone was like, I figured out a way to catch the most tarantulas by digging these pits, and I trapped them. And you're just like, what is going on in Animal Crossing?
Yeah.
Because the tarantulas are worth a lot of money.
Yeah, man.
So all right, so that's what it all comes down to. Even players who don't think they have a min-max mindset, they seem to approach that game with it regardless. Like, I've noticed that a ton. And it's unusual because these are not the same type of player who would be like, all right, I need to get those leggings with +8 stam instead of +5 stam. These are people who are like, man, this game's so chill. But then you look at their cities and it's like, you have spent hundreds of hours getting this thing to look perfect. And it's just like,
yeah.
So to that point, I mean, so there's people that are min-maxing and there's people that are like just being cool, whatever, right? Just chill, getting through the game, which is great that the game has the option that you could play it either way. Now let's get to the heart of his question. Alex, do you think that that's troublesome for a game to have players kind of at odds with the way that you could say perhaps? I mean, we don't really know for sure that the way the game is designed is meant to be more relaxed.
I guess I would challenge that assertion that that's how it's meant to be played. I think it's not. If you were to go to talk to developers, it's not how they would want people to play it by, juicing the clock. But that being said, they took away, and I don't remember the name, but whatever character that would like chastise you and yell at you for changing the clock.
Mr. Resetti.
Yeah, Mr. Resetti. Like they took him out. So inherently there was some sort of conversation within Nintendo that said, we're not going to punish players for doing that. Is that how I want to play? No, I love waking up every day and knowing that I got to hit Nook's Cranny. I got to see what the Able sisters are doing. I'm going to get my fossils. You know what I mean? So that's how I love to play. And if that's with this, and I think Leo put a really good video up outlining the moral ambiguity of time travel on our YouTube page. But if that's how you want, and it sounds like a cop out, but if that's how you want to play, that's how you want to play. I get people who want to have the prettiest stuff because, at least in my Twitter timeline, there's a real feeling of FOMO. And also, like, I look at my island, I'm like, well, crap, like I am like nowhere near what some of these people are doing. Some people are creating works of art in this game and I can't figure out where to put my inflatable couch. You know what I mean? So I get that level of FOMO and I understand like people are, it's like they are competitive, but it's like, it's not a competitive game. So I just don't let other people's, if that's how you want to play, great, but don't let other people's accomplishments ruin the game for you, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you would say essentially you don't think that there's a cop out or some kind of like like the gamer's view versus the developer's view. This is just they made the game so it would fit all these various things and they opened it up and they accepted it. Yeah. Right. It's a sandbox. You do what you want.
Yeah. I think Washington Post had an interview with the developer who said like, yeah, if you're asking me, I wouldn't play it with time travel on, but like inherently I think because Nintendo axed Mr. Resetti, I think it's saying like, we're not going to stop you if this is how you want to play it. And I think that's been a benefit to a lot of people in the era of COVID. Like I said, not how I want to do it. I think it strips every day of its meaning. And I think when I hit my
strips every day of its meaning. Yeah. Really? Is it you went that far?
That's the first thing. It's the first single from Heaven's Fallen. But like there's just inherently a special quality to seeing who's on your island every day for me that I like looking like, spending an hour or two waking up to. So that's just me.
All right. How about you, Reiner?
I agree with both of these guys here, but at the same time, part of the brilliance of Animal Crossing is it accommodates both of those play styles, right? Like, I can't imagine balancing games around that when you got to consider people are going to be grinding out certain things. Like you see it in MMOs all the time where, let's say Dan and I start on the same day. Dan stays up till 6 a.m. grinding stuff. And the next time I log on, I can't even play with him anymore.
Yeah.
They have gotten better about that. We got level syncing now.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, finding that balance is very difficult. And I think Animal Crossing doesn't get enough credit for allowing that, like, yes, you could play it 20 minutes a day, call it good, go on up with your life. And that's one viable way of playing it. But at the same time, you could go have 50 tarantulas in your backpack, after a 4-hour game session and, like design an entire city if you want to, or rather than just a house. Like you can play it both ways. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it is. It's very good. I mean, I think that's obviously the charm and lets people feel. I think that's the really important thing is that I think to your point, Alex, like you don't feel punished for doing that, but you also don't feel punished for being slow.
Yeah.
Right. That there's still joy in that. And I think that's the Nintendo magic. They're able to reach so many people because they're able to engage them, let them play it the way they want and feel that that's the proper,
definitely
quote unquote way to experience it.
Yeah.
It's a tough thing. Very, very difficult to balance. Mm-hmm. So GI Show, what are your thoughts about demos now that the landscape of the world has changed for the time being? I rarely check to see what demos are available on the PlayStation Store because they are typically so few. So when I heard there was an opportunity for a demo for Final Fantasy VII Remake, I downloaded it. I love Final Fantasy games and have them among my favorite games. However, 7 is not nearly my favorite. 10, 12, 6, 9, then 7 in that order. By the way, I love whenever you talk to a Final Fantasy fan, they have that ready, like to drop at any moment, that numbered order. So that coupled with the news that this was a multi-part series and how the combat was vastly different and somewhat confusing had me at arm's length and not likely to purchase the game well after the fact. Then I played the demo, which caused me to immediately pre-order, which I rarely do. This begs the questions. Should more games that are set to come out in this environment have demos? Mark from Cleveland. So I think we could all agree that we feel demos are down, even though like early access is up. Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. So,
alphas, yeah.
So do you think more games should make demos? Are demos dead? Are demos important? How do you feel, Reiner? How do you feel demos fit into the current video game landscape?
I do think demos serve a purpose, like at release now. Like the days of them being before release, where it's like straining on developers. You know, they talk about making a demo for E3, how that's very disruptive to game development, but at the same time, maybe that's where they learned the true vision of their game because they had to finish a slice of it.
Yeah.
I think those days are probably more behind us in terms of public demos, you know, of people being able to download something. But I think Final Fantasy did something very interesting here in that the game was done. It was delayed in that maybe the demo came out of it. They were able to show a slice of the game that was very intriguing. So that allowed people to sample it. And like this write-in just said, it made them buy it. Right. Mm-hmm. So I think whether it's God of War, Uncharted, if the game's done, why not make a demo for it? Right. I would like to see them return. It's probably not going to happen, but it is another way to engage players, let them try it out and see if they want to purchase your game.
I have seen some games do like well after they've launched, like in the second or third month, release a demo later, which I think is always interesting too. How do you guys feel about it, Dan?
I don't know. I mean, I played 2 demos that I can think of in the past month, just with Bravely Default 2 and Trials of Mana. So, and they give you stuff that you can take into the game too, usually as like a little benefit for completing the demo. Mm-hmm. I think they're great to get a taste of the game, especially when you don't know what what's coming, like with the Final Fantasy VII remake. Whether or not developers should spend time on them when we live in a world with early access, alphas, betas, these have all sort of taken the place of demos, as was previously said. And you gotta make sure that demo's perfect before you put it out too. So there's a lot of time on the dev side to make that slice ready for everybody.
Yeah, that is the dangerous part. It cuts both ways. It can make people excited about a game and can also kill your momentum.
Yeah,
you're 100% right.
Yeah. And I think Dan hit on a crucial point on that for demos for me is does your progress carry over? And for most of demo history, the answer was no. So I started to avoid them. But now that like you said, Dan, that they start to incorporate that progress, I think they're definitely more valuable. And to our write-in's point, I was fine on Final Fantasy VII. I was like, okay, cool. And then I played the demo. I was like, all in, like let's go. So there's definitely value there as long as it doesn't kill the developer, especially in an age when games are coming out less than polished. I'd rather have more polish on it. And this is speaking from ignorance because I don't know how that would work. I don't know the split on that, but like I'd rather have them focus on making sure everything is as polished as possible, making that the focus. But I love demos. I grew up with the Legend of Zelda demo disc in, I think it was Mario Kart Double Dash or whatever. So there's a nostalgia to that I miss.
It's also hard to do demos with open worlds. Yeah, like how do you gate people? Like how do you block them off?
Yeah, or put a timer on it. You can play for 1 hour and then it stops, and then you have to do something with it. I mean, I'm sure there's solutions they're working towards, but it is tough. And I know for some developers, I've been like, are you going to do a demo? And they're like, we don't know what little section to cut out, that doesn't have a spoiler or doesn't we feel like negatively affect the story we're trying to tell. I know for some people that's very difficult to find those demos. I think
that can be like super disorienting if they give you like a slice that's 50% of the game in, and you've got mechanics and features that, have been drip fed to you in the normal game. You just have no idea or no sense of how to use anything. And it's like, wow, combat in this game's too complicated. Peace out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a tricky thing, but I do think if you can execute one well, it's a good thing, right? Yeah. But it is definitely slowed down. But I don't think it's going away. I think it's just whether people can get it done or not. But it does feel like early access is a way. Like, I'm throwing in my last 2 cents here, but I do think if you would ask me like 15 years ago, I'd have been like, gamers would not be understanding enough of buggy games. And I feel like we have been pretty forgiving as a group, you know, to a lot of games that come out and say they're in early access or in beta and worked with them and not, you know, just instantly said this game is garbage and I never want to touch it again, though that does get said. But I'm just saying that, like, I feel like they've been more understanding of those early access and understanding of the game in progress. So it seems like it's been working. So that's been interesting. This next question, I think, plays into this a little bit. So hi, Andy, big fan of the show and hope you guys are doing okay. Given the release of Final Fantasy VII Remake, I was wondering how nostalgia plays into reviewing a game. I have seen different reactions from different people on the internet for this game. A particular playthrough on YouTube had the dude praising every minute detail of the game, down to the background NPC dialogue and the way the skybox looks. He boldly claimed that this remake was the greatest game ever made while he was still in Chapter 3. On the flip side, I've seen another diehard FFF7 fan lambast the game, saying it ruined the original's perfect pacing and subtlety, filling a perfect game with unnecessary padding. As someone who was born a year after the game came out and never touched a Final Fantasy game, it seems okay. It seems to have the goofy animated tropes and a decent combat system. It never seems bad nor mind-blowingly amazing. So how does stuff like nostalgia affect the overall review of the game? I know you guys have said that a review is purely based on the experience the reviewer has, and while there are objective technical aspects to look at, there are a lot of subjective qualities as well. Always thanks for being awesome. Anyways, thanks for being awesome. Thank you, Antonio Sanchez, Westlaco, Texas. That's a great question. Nostalgia is a difficult, challenging thing to deal with, I think, for all of us, not even just critics, right? We all look at things through a lens once it has that experience in our head. And by the way, an experience that we may not even remember right, I'd like to point out.
Right.
Interesting. So have you guys reviewed a game where you've had to really been challenged by your nostalgia for the product as you look at it? Reiner, you've reviewed a lot of games. I know you have. Any
existing series. I think it's always kind of a weight that's on your shoulders a little bit of, you know, you need to be knowledgeable. You need to know what this new experience is kind of built on, right? It's not just a game being remade that has an element of nostalgia. So anything that's been going on for years and years and years, or numbered entries, you really got to kind of think about what came before. And you're totally right. You might not remember it perfectly, but you do have some memories of things. And Final Fantasy VII has been really interesting for me because I loved the original game. Like, you and I played that till 5 a.m., 6 a.m. The Japanese version, we couldn't even make out the text.
We put off work for it.
Yeah, we learned kanji that way.
Yeah.
To a degree. So going back to that, you have like these iconic characters that you love, but it's different, right? Like it's a whole new game. Yes, it's the same in name, and the story is hitting a lot of the same beats, and the characters are back and they look as goofy as ever with the spiky hair and all that stuff, especially in a world now where everyone else looks normal.
Yeah.
Back in the day, everybody was like kind of blocks and you're like, oh, they're all kind of stylish. But now it's like normal business people. And then all of a sudden Cloud comes walking in and you're like, whoa, why is everybody not doing a double take when he walks down? So there are things like that are interesting, but yeah, I'm like, I don't like how summons are used in this game, in the new remake. Like, yeah. I liked how summons were used back in the day. I could use them on a slime if I wanted to, you know, just obliterate them. But now they're saved for boss fights. So there are pieces of the game that you look at and you're maybe as a critic, you're like, well, it was better back in the day. They didn't do this one as well. So I think it's a notable perspective to have for a review. But someone who's never played the game could have a whole different experience. And I think that is a valid review as well, right?
Yeah. I loved it. It was like, seems okay. That's that made me laugh.
It's a hot take right there.
Alex, you played a lot of Final Fantasy. How did nostalgia or lack thereof affect your take?
So I just beat it, and we actually have a spoiler cast if you want to go watch Joe and I talk about it. Final Fantasy is an interesting one because not having that nostalgia for this specific case. I think I enjoyed pieces of it more. It's tough because I don't want to get into too spoilery territory. It
helped you be open-minded.
Yeah,
about that.
In the differences that the game presents from the original, it wasn't an issue for me because I hadn't had any experience and I didn't have a set idea. So in that regard, I think I loved it even more than I may have because I've talked to some people who are longtime fans who don't love how things play out. But for me, it was more so there was definitely moments in that game where I know there was parts where I was expected to have that background for anything to make sense or to really feel the emotion of some things. But those moments were few and far between. And I think Square did a pretty great job of walking that line. And also, like, I guess, and maybe tell me if this is two different things, but like, I look to reviewers who have the experience with a series in a game because they're going to be able to tell me what has aged well and what hasn't. So I guess I think nostalgia is just part of it. And I know, especially here, you just trust that these reviewers are speaking honestly. And I think we do that the best on the internet, frankly. So.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, it's try to make sure you pass along how it informs your opinion.
Yeah. One thing I'll add is Square knows who's playing this game. They know a lot of people are coming back for round 2. So like at the end of a battle, you have Barrett every once in a while will kind of scream out the victory music.
Yeah.
Which you no longer have a victory screen of the character standing in a row as they're triumphant. It's just you finish a battle and you move on. But Barrett will remind you of yesteryear, and you're like, oh yeah, I missed that.
Yeah.
Like I missed that little element of the game, but they're very clever in how they remind you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have a mod that when I beat things in WoW, when I beat bosses or whatever, I get the bum 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 bum. So
yeah,
I like that music enough that I want it to be there. Dan, how about you?
Yeah, I think nostalgia does affect reviews, but ideally you try to keep as much of it out of the experience as you can when you're in the new game of a series or franchise. I think that information, there's just two schools on this, but I think that having experience with the franchise or the series is definitely, that's the kind of opinion I want. I want somebody who's played all the games. I know some people are like, well, no, you should have somebody who's never played it before. That way, that's the fresh experience. I'm like, I'd rather have the guy, who could inform you on all that. That already has that context. Now, does that affect or color the review in any way? Possibly subconsciously a little bit. But it's not to a degree that matters, I would say.
Yeah, and I think it's good art, by the way, too, is art that you can look at from different perspectives, right? That if you can only see it from one side, I don't know that that's interesting, right? Interesting art has a lot to it that you could take in different ways and digest with nostalgia, experience, right, or without, right? Mm-hmm. Like that old wise eyes see, and the young eyes see differently, right? And I think that's what makes it interesting. So I think all those things are important to the perspective and show that Final Fantasy and the era that it captures and what it brings back. Those weird, when you watch some of the videos, like these are weird now, but they have an interesting perspective, and that nostalgia kind of, I think, weighs into how it looks. And I think there's expectations for people that, because everyone used to love this game, I have to have something. And that's a different thing than nostalgia. It's a different lens that you look at it through. And it's just as powerful, I think, at the end of the day. Yeah. So I think it says that this is an interesting thing to talk about. And nostalgia is a great way to view things. But you are right. we need to be careful with how it affects our views. And I love that Alex said it since he's newer here, that Game Informer takes this stuff very seriously. And I know Reiner can back me up on this. We take it way too seriously. We talk about this stuff.
It's crazy walking into it. Like you all, and there's a lot of sites that do reviews great, don't get me wrong, but like coming into this and seeing how meticulous and how careful you guys are with these pieces of content is incredible. And I've really enjoyed getting to know people's reviews a little bit more intimately, doing the video reviews and stuff. But yeah, but I think that's important. I think it's important to take those seriously, because that's a lot of what our audience looks for in us is unbiased, calculated reviews.
Yeah. And I think for just as many stupid conversations we walk into when we have an office that you're like, why are those people arguing over this minutia? I do believe, I believe they do that at all the other outlets. Everyone out there, at least, a large portion of the video game outlets out there, especially all the big ones, they work very hard to give you honest takes on what's going on, just to make sure no one reads into any kind of like, what's wrong in video game journalism? I just don't buy it. Like everyone out there is trying hard and trying to make great content, right? And we do as well. But it's funny. You definitely hit a note where we will have hour-long meetings where people will be in there going like, "Get over the nostalgia talk, move on." But we think it's important, so I'm glad you do too. So hey, Andy and the McNuggets. Okay.
McNamara? No, we're not using that one.
No?
Okay with being a McNugget. They're delicious.
While playing the new Ori, I noticed Moon Studios' fantastic logo where the two O's are in the shape of the Earth and the Moon. It's awesome. What are some of your favorite logos for studios or games? He also has a Kiss, Marry, Kill that we'll use to kick off Kiss, Marry, Kill, which is coming up next. But keep up the great work from Johnny, Tampa, Florida. So, logos. This is another one of those things where Game Informer spends too much time talking about logos. We can tie this in. But you know what? Cool, great logos, iconic logos in games. I think games has a lot of them. I love this question. And maybe it's just because I'm into design and other things like that. I would agree with him. I saw that Moon Studio logo and I was like, that's a good logo. Mm-hmm. That's a good logo. So I'm going to kick it off with a couple of one logo, and then I'm going to pass it on to hear what these guys say, because I have a bunch. But the one that I always like to think about is the Atari logo. For some strange reason, it's a shame Atari as a company is kind of like not as important as it once was and doesn't represent what it once did. That Atari logo with the single line and the two slopes, money. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Dan, do you have any favorite logos?
Well, now that you mention it, I do love the Atari logo, but it's not something I think about normally. So when I heard this one, I was like, do I really even like any game logos right now? And I looked around and I'm like, I got Hearthstone. I like the Hearthstone logo. It's simple, elegant, neat design. I recognize it, right? But it's not like I'm drooling over it. Like, I guess I just don't think about this enough, because
that's fair.
Obviously I really do like when you bring up the Atari logo, it's like, yeah, obviously that's freaking awesome, right? But like I'm struggling to find other examples of like really impactful logos like that one.
Oh, I've got a lineup for you. I'm gonna be blowing your mind.
All right.
All right, Alex.
So my girlfriend's a graphic designer, so she has opened my eyes to design more, and I really love the Assassin's Creed logo, the A with the little crest under it. And I think what's so brilliant about it is that, and everything in great design is purposeful, and I believe that this is the case too, that that logo works in almost every era that they bring it into, the Assassin's Crest or whatever. And that's impressive because, ancient Egypt design is much different than Caribbean pirates and stuff like that. So how they fuse that into the worlds is really interesting to me. And I like a little bit more minimalistic style, and I think that knocks it out of the park.
No, I would agree. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Reiner.
I'm going to go with the Neversoft logo. It's kind of gross.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's a good one.
It has the eyeball. It's kind of like the Pixar lamp. It's like it's a prop, but also it makes that logo super iconic.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one. I didn't think of that one. That's a great one.
Yeah.
First of all, one of the things I want to throw out a little love to. There's a guy named Corey Schmitz. He makes logos for video games and some bands and stuff like this too. He has a website. I highly recommend you go. He did, which by the way, I made fun of the name Valorant, but he did all the branding for Valorant, and I think it's really awesome. Yeah. He did Ghosts of Tsushima, the logo for that. I don't know if you guys have seen that. I think that one is like great. Wow. He did Below. He did the Oculus Rift with the cool, like long elongated I mean, like he did Headlander. I don't know if you remember that game from Double Fine that has like, go to his site. He's one of the most talented logo designers out there right now. He's done he did Adrift. I don't remember if you remember that VR game. Sound Shapes. Like he is so good. Like he is very, very talented and does a lot of really interesting games and logos. And I always like seeing his work. He did Control, by the way. I don't know if you liked Control and like all their like kind of like typeface and stuff that they did in that. Wow. Another one I'm a huge fan of. He's super cool as far as that stuff goes. Now, I also have some other additions. The Sega logo to me is one of the greatest. It feels like it's from an arcade. It's from another era. It's so good, and it can be modern and it can be classic. Such a good logo. Mm-hmm. I had actually written down, Alex, to your point, I'd written down Assassins. I think Assassins is really, really good.
Good.
Two other hardware logos, the PlayStation logo and the N64 logo, the N's, the kind of repeating N that was like 3D.
Very smart.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
What a great logo. Another one, Rockstar and Half-Life, very similar, but like the R-Star, like the way that you can like take it and put it into different like styles at any time, but still have that thing. Rockstar logo. Oh, so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm so jealous.
Yeah. That Half-Life logo looks like a street sign, like something that should be on a street, right? Like, but that's kind of how brilliant it is.
Oh yeah. It could be graffiti somewhere.
Yeah. It's so simple and perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's another one. I love that one so much, and I also think the Smash 4 when they did the 4, like that is a more recent one that came to that's good iconography, really impressive. But there's a lot of great logos in games. Super Metroid is one that I have a certain affinity for, as everyone knows how much I love those games. Yeah. But I think that stuff's really fun. Please. Let us know what I would love to hear more. By the way, in case you know, I'm into this nerddom. I am down on this. So if you have any recommendations, please add them to comments. And I want to hear one more from Reiner.
The Contra logo with that fire sea.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
that's a good one.
Money.
That's a very good one.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I have two more real quick. And I think a lot of it is based in nostalgia, but the GameCube intro, and maybe that's cheating, but I can hear it at all times when I think of the GameCube. And then it slides in together, but that makes it visually unique. And then you brought up Half-Life, but then I would also say Valve's logo with the guy with the valve on the back of his head is so visually distinct and unmissable.
Disturbing.
It is disturbing. And the another one that you can hear when you think of right away, but it's you can't mistake it. And then also what they did with it in Half-Life Alyx, making that VR, is just it gave me kind of chills because it was so cool. But yeah, that's another one that I think is unmissable.
Sure, rub it in, because I still haven't gotten that game to work. I spent another night the other day trying to play it. I don't know.
Oh no.
That's my quarantine shame. I still can't play that stupid game, and I can't go to the office to play it, and I want to play it, and I'm annoyed. But yeah, sure. Tell us all about how you played it, Alex.
I haven't played it. I watched Leo play it, and it made me sad that I couldn't play it too, but I appreciate good art nonetheless.
I know it's unfortunate.
There's going to be a line out the VR room when we finally get back in.
Also, you can send your ideas for logos that you like to podcast@GameInformer.com. We'd love to hear them. I like to read about them. So please let me know what you think. But Joe from Tampa also had a Kiss, Marry, Kill that he would like to do. And I picked this one because it does hit me where it hurts. Metrovania style. So Thank God he does not put Metroid or Castlevania in this, by the way. I want to put this out there right now.
Is it worse than last week? We already went through enough pain last week.
By the way, I think people like watching us be in pain. Correct. I think this is essentially what this has turned into, is like, how do we make the podcasters suffer? And they're finding ways. This one seems aimed at me. So Ori versus Guacamelee versus Hollow Knight.
Oof. This one's easy.
Easy. I think the kill is easy. I think
the kill is super easy.
The kill is easy, unfortunately. But Dan, kiss, marry, kill. And by the way, I should point out, kiss, marry, kill. Marry is like, you love this franchise, you want to keep it going forever. In the kiss is kind of like, I think we should make like a cool indie game, see where it goes. You know what I mean? You're kind of like half invested in it. And then finally, kill is that you've killed off the franchise, and this is hard, and like it's a tough game. So what do you think, Matt? Dan.
What was the first one again?
Ori, Guacamelee, Hollow Knight.
Marry Hollow Knight, kiss Ori, and kill Guacamelee. The easy kill there.
Yeah, I think Guacamelee is great, but I think Hollow Knight and Ori are definitely rarefied air in that space. But what can I ask? Why Hollow Knight over Ori? I
have not finished Hollow Knight, but it is sort of the merging between some genres that I really like, Metroidvanias, which are obviously your jam, and Souls-likes, which are my jam. It's got to like have a medium between those. And as much as I love Ori, Hollow Knight has more of the Soulsy mechanics that I typically enjoy. So I'd like to marry that one. And I do love Ori, by the way. I've started playing the new one, and it's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
And super into that. Guacamelee, as you said, despite being good in its own right, has no chance against those other two.
Yeah.
The marry or the kiss.
Yeah. How about you, Alex?
You know, I felt something was wrong when Dan agreed with me earlier, so I'm going to change that. I would marry the crap out of Ori. I think Will-O-The-Wisps is one of the best Metroidvanias of all time. I would kiss Guacamelee because I appreciate the humor in that game, and I think the combat is some of the better on this list. And then, no offense to Hollow Knight, but you know, Dan put me in a corner, so I'm gonna say goodbye to Hollow Knight.
I mean, you are gonna get some comments here, buddy.
Yeah. Wow.
I look forward to not reading them on YouTube.
Reiner.
I'm gonna agree exactly with Alex. Get in here, buddy. Get in here.
Wow.
Other way.
Well,
by the way, we're all in different, but the boxes are all different on everyone's screen.
Ori is just a special spot in my heart. Like, that game tugs at your emotions and is so brilliantly designed in terms of flow and mechanics. And then Guacamelee, I kiss because it's so different. But once I start playing those games, I can't put them down. And then Hollow Knight, kill it just to spite Dan.
Wow. That's not a real reason.
You can have any answer you want on this show. Yeah.
I want to keep them all alive, but that's the only reason I have. Get rid of that. Despite you.
If it makes you feel any better, Dan, I like the aesthetic of Hollow Knight.
Hey, it doesn't bother me.
I like the gameplay. It doesn't bother me
that you're making the wrong call. It doesn't bother me at all.
That's farm life.
Yeah, that's.
I unfortunately have to say Guacamelee is my kill, just because I have to say the two games that have impressed me the most as Metroidvanias, and I hate the word Metroidvania, by the way. I call them, like, they're all ripping off Metroid in my opinion. But Ori and Hollow Knight are so amazing. They are just like fantastic games. They are well established in my top 100 games of all time. I don't know where, but both are like very, very good. I think at the end of the day, I wouldn't have picked Ori until they made Will-O-The-Wisps, where I think they really, to Reiner's point, they just balanced everything to a next level. Right. Hollow Knight at time feels like you're like, oh man, this place is big. Oh, this guy's like, you know, there's a lot of like, I don't want to say frustration, but it's a lot. Like, Hollow Knight is very, very big, but Ori is just a shot that's so well done, so well executed. It's impressive. So it's a tough choice, but I think I do marry Ori and I do kiss Hollow Knight. But you know what I love here is I think Ori is the most recent release, and it's put down a little gauntlet of like, hey, Hollow Knight, you need to step up your game. You know what I want? I want Hollow Knight to step up its game. Like I want the next Hollow Knight to rock. So I'm excited. Let's go back and forth. Ask me this question in 6 months or a year when the Hollow Knight one comes out, and I hope I'm picking different. let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Thanks for the question.
That was a good one.
All right. So here's a little silliness for you. Hello, GI Show. I have a special GI Show version of Kiss, Marry, Kill. This will be with jokes or running gags that happen on the GI Show. If you marry it, you can continue to make that joke as often as you want. If you kiss it, you can make that joke once more. Ever. If you kill, you can obviously never make that joke again. The 3 jokes are:
I kill farm life.
Not an option.
That is not on the list, but that is funny. That is the kind of inside baseball we're doing here. Well, if you're new to the show, you need to listen back to the old episodes to hear the kind of stupidity that we're working with here. So number 1, Dan's jackets. Dan wears a different jacket on many shows. Number 2, making fun of Brian Shea's love of Sonic. So delicious. So delicious. And 3, Andy McNamara making fun of his own hosting, which is poorly done. So that is definitely real. Of course, this may be somewhat of a gimme as Andy is doing a wonderful job hosting. Thanks. I hope that this helps you realize that. Thanks as always, Nick from Atlanta. Thanks, Nick from Atlanta. He's a longtime listener. So how you doing, Nick? Thank you for the Kiss, Marry, Kill. So what do you pick? Do you kill Dan's jackets? Do you kill making fun of Brian Shea's love of Sonic? Do you kill Andy McNamara making fun of his own hosting?
I mean, I'll kick
okay. What do you got?
You know what? And I'm gonna write it down. But I'd kill the out of you putting down your own hosting. I get so sick of it because you do.
I know.
You do a very good job, and I'm not trying to kiss, but like it's just true. Like you're your own biggest critic, and you need to shut up sometimes about yourself.
I definitely do. You're correct.
I would marry Dan's jackets because I love them. I love how saucy they are. I love the flavor that it brings up. And then I would save making fun of Brian's love of Sonic for like the ultimate Sonic. I don't know if we've already had the ultimate Sonic debacle, but like if there's one more coming, really like stick it in there. So
that perfect moment, like yeah. I hear you. I hear you. The coup de grace.
Mm-hmm. Save
the one that
blast.
The one that ends it all.
Yeah.
All right, Dan. I know it's hard to pick because you are the wearer of the jackets.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go right with Alex's set.
Okay.
Shockingly enough, this was pretty much a slam dunk. Like, who's going to pick marrying Andy's self-depreciation on his hosting? Who is going to marry that?
Andy, probably.
Probably me. Yeah, probably me.
Yeah, okay.
But but I mean, like, you marry your own jackets, by the way. That's just as weird as your farm life. I want to point that out.
But we can top that. We'll tune in next week. We'll see what we can come up with here on the house.
And Andy Reiner, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, you got to keep wearing those jackets, Dan.
Yeah.
Like, they're iconic, man. It's a good look. I'm gonna go with these guys. Exactly. 100%. All right. It's a pretty easy one. Although
but I would like to
make fun of Shea.
Now, if you had to choose, Reiner, between if Dan always had to have a hat to keep the jackets, what if they were a combo that you couldn't separate? Would you still choose jackets?
I wouldn't let Dan be on the podcast.
Jeez.
All right, excellent. My version is, I gotta say, this is tough because I love making fun of Sonic with Brian Shea. Like, I really do. And sometimes I feel a little mean about it because he really does. He genuinely loves Sonic, so I feel a little guilty. But I like making fun of Sonic. I really like making fun of Sonic. It's really hard. But okay, sure. I'll kill the Andy making fun of my own hosting. I'll try not to do that anymore. I'll try not to do that. It's tough. It's like I'm like Conan O'Brien kind of thing. Like you got to make fun of yourself, not take it too seriously. So I that's the goal.
Still make fun of yourself. Like that's great.
We could do that for you too.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But just not as a host.
Okay. All right. And I love Dan's jacket. So we'll move on. So thank you, Nick from Atlanta. That's a little inside baseball. But we're trying to keep it, change it up here with the Kiss, Marry, Kill. So this next one does it as well. Hi, all. I couldn't help but notice there are a few pings and dings that sounded a lot like a game was being played during last week's episode.
Uh-oh.
Dan, Alex.
Hey, push to talk. Not on this week, so you got me unfiltered and raw. Farm life.
Also, I'd like to throw someone under the bus. It was actually Reiner Slack messaging me, so it's technically, he shares a little.
Oh, wow!
Whoa! Why are you multitasking?
That's fair. It was dumb because I had closed out of them, but Windows still popped up notifications.
Oh, in the tray, yeah.
So the tray is gone. There's no game in on this end. But I do apologize for that. That's on me.
So let us know if we have less pings and dings in this episode. We did try to get that fixed. But once again, sorry, quarantine, week five, we're going to make some mistakes. So thank you for bearing with us through that. But it is hilarious that you picked that up and that we happen to have the two guilty parties. Well, I guess I should say all three guilty parties.
I'm not guilty of it. Don't throw stones.
First of all, it's funny. He'd like to know who was playing games during this section. It's like someone was playing games, which I think this is funny. Like admit it. We've all been in a meeting where we were supposed to be paying attention. We were playing a game in it, weren't we?
Mm-mm. I mean, maybe, but that didn't happen last week. Nobody was playing games in the cast.
I think Reiner's playing a game right now. He just looked down at his phone. And for a little inside Game Informer stuff, every issue meeting we have, which we have this issue meeting where we talk about what we're going to do in the next issue. When we do it in person, which we haven't done in person in a while, but when we do it in person, yeah, there we go. Pokemon on Reiner's phone is that Jeff Cork plays Tap Titans every time. And so he'll speak to you like tapping on his phone. Like he doesn't look at it, but he's like tapping. So I think he's going to tap through his phone at some point, and it cracks me up.
When I think he's sleeping, I bet he's like this.
Yeah, just fidgeting.
Fingers just every once in a while twitching a little bit.
So yeah, there's been some of that's happened. So, but here we go. On to the, he has some Kiss, Marry, Kills for so this one, because Reiner is here once again, this worked out so great. Star Wars games. Ooh. Knights of the Old Republic, Battlefront, and Empire at War, which Empire at War is an interesting choice.
So is this the EA Battlefront or the original?
I don't know. I think the series in general.
Okay. Well, I marry KOTOR.
You marry KOTOR?
Yeah, you have to. It's the classic of all those three.
Yes.
I kill Empire at War, and then I kiss Battlefront.
Excellent.
That one's kind of easy.
You think it's too easy?
Yeah, that's mine too.
Yeah, he nailed it. Yeah. That's also mine.
I would say I would kiss Battlefront because I think DICE, if it didn't have the microtransactions, I think a lot of people would have looked at that game much more favorably. But I think that'd be a great game to make a platform and just add stuff as it goes.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people have said that. I mean, it's not even the same game anymore.
Yeah.
Does anybody here? Have you been going back into Battlefront at all, Reiner?
A little bit. Yeah. Here and there when they do the big updates, I'll check it out. And yeah, it's a lot better. You know, it got off to a bad launch and very much like Fallout 76, like, can they make it better over time? And I think DICE has accomplished that. It's just, is it too little too late to really make a big splash? I think so. You know, that game was what? How many years ago? Like, that was a long time ago.
3? I think it was 2017.
Yeah, but good on them to keep it going.
Yeah.
You know, make it a destination.
Yeah, it's funny. You know, when I looked up Empire at War, it has like people loved that game. Like, you know, I mean, like as far as like, you know, having a strategy Star Wars game, I think it's interesting. I wish they would do some more different Star Wars games. I still feel like there was always a X-Wing versus TIE Fighter something that we should have that should be out there somehow. That's not. But all right. So now canceled games. This one might have an easy kill too. I'm not entirely sure, but I like this one as well because I think it's interesting. So canceled games: Star Wars 1313, StarCraft Ghost, or Scalebound. Kiss, Marry, Kill, Star Wars 1313, StarCraft Ghost, Scalebound.
Ghost was the FPS, right?
Yep.
Third. It was like Siphon Filter StarCraft.
Okay. Yeah, that's the best way to describe it. I know I have an answer here.
Go for it.
So I'll go for it. I'm going to be, when people fell in love with Star Wars 1313 at E3, they were going crazy for it. I was like, I don't like this game at all. I actually thought it looked like a bad idea. I didn't like the idea of like a Uncharted, essentially Star Wars game. I thought there was a lot of smoke and mirrors at the event. And I thought people were buying into the fact that it had like a lot of vibe, like a kind of a Disney ride selling it. And then I thought the game itself looked bad and uninteresting. So I would marry StarCraft Ghost. I still think StarCraft could have some cool things that go with it. But I choose the other thing. I don't kiss either of them. They don't deserve it. Star Wars 1313 and Scalebound both die. Oof. Bye. Double death, double kill. If I was forced to choose, I would probably kiss Star Wars 1313, but it would be like the kiss of death. You need to start over completely new. Maybe save a couple little bits and pieces, and I would save it because it's Star Wars. That's it.
I would marry Star Wars.
Oh.
Which I wish I could legally do. When they revealed, or I guess, after the game was canceled, they revealed it was going to be a Boba Fett game. I was all about that. Just thinking about how that, his jetpack and all that stuff could come into play in a Uncharted like setting. I was all about it. I would kiss Scalebound just because I like co-op games against big dragons and stuff like that. And Platinum has a decent track record for games.
Yeah.
They're hit or miss, but that one looked like it was crazy enough to be cool. And then, kill the other one.
Yeah, StarCraft Ghost.
I think.
Yeah, all right. I played that, by the way. I played a bit of StarCraft Ghost, and yeah,
yeah, boy,
you.
I unfortunately I have the same list as Reiner. I was excited for the concept of Scalebound. I'd like to see what that turned out to be. Things got rough a little bit towards the end, but I would like to see that, so I'd kiss it. 1313. I think the Star Wars universe lends itself well to an Uncharted thing, whether it was that game or not. I think the cocky swashbuckling kind of anti-hero rebel plays well in that universe. Han Solo. So and Bounty Hunters work. I think that would have been great. And then I have no affection for StarCraft just because it's been out of my my wheelhouse. So
yeah. Dan, farm life.
Well, cows, ducks, chickens, marry. All right, that's what we got here. No, marry Ghost. Obviously, anything StarCraft, I'm all in. Kiss Scalebound. I really like to see where that could have gone, and kill Star Wars 1313.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. So next one is one of these twisty ones. So, and a final one is a little different. Which game franchise would you make into a TV series? Mary guarantees a minimum of 3 seasons with 12 episodes a season. 12. Kissing makes a 6-episode miniseries, and killing gets no show ever.
Interesting.
Wow.
I like this.
Quality is Game of Thrones level in terms of production values.
Oh, we can just forget about it then.
I hope you're all staying safe over there. Big love. This is from this is from Lockie or Lockland, who was our friend from Australia who was traveling, who gave us a dog's breakfast and then gave us a quiz of various other Australian terminology. So good to hear from you. Good friend of the show.
Did we ever find out what he did with his Xbox purchase? Did he ever say? Because that's why he initially wrote in, right?
Yeah, I don't think I know. Yeah, but it was great. So it's always good to hear from familiar fans of the show.
Definitely.
Hope you are doing well. This is a great question. So these are your choices: Elder Scrolls, StarCraft, or Halo that you would make a TV show out of. 3 seasons, 12 episodes, 6-episode miniseries, or killing. Elder Scrolls, StarCraft, Halo. Dan, you're up first.
Sure. Well, it's as I had just mentioned in the previous one, we're gonna marry StarCraft. That would be an awesome freaking show. Or kiss Elder Scrolls. I'd like to see that. And then, of course, Halo. Whatever. Kill Halo. I can live with that other schlocky sci-fi.
The battle continues.
Whatever. I agree with you completely. StarCraft has the most ground to cover in terms of expanding the universe, and I think it'd be cool to see that. Elder Scrolls, I guess you could say maybe it'd get a little too Game of Thronesy, like we've kind of already lived through that, but I would kiss that one. I'd kill Halo just because what do you do with Master Chief? Like, maybe it's better if he's not a part of it, but if he is the central character, does he take off his mask, or is he like, does he work as the Mandalorian? You know, I don't know. I just think that one gets messy.
Yeah, it's difficult. I hear you.
Yeah.
Alex, do you have a differing opinion?
One might say that. I once again, no ill will towards StarCraft, but it's just not my genre.
Not your jam.
Yeah, but it is my genre, but I just don't know anything about the series. So, but this is tough for me because, like, how do you tell a succinct story of Elder Scrolls in 6 episodes? You know, like, there's just, I feel like there's so much lore in that. I feel like you'd leave a ton of on the table, but I don't really want to. I think it's too close to Thrones. It's too close to Witcher. So I guess I would put that as the kiss, even though I don't know. I don't envy the writer who would have to cram all that into 6 episodes. And why, yes, Reiner, I'll tell you how you make a Halo series work, because I'd marry it and you wouldn't come close to Chief. Chief is off limits. We've told his story. We don't need anything to do with him anymore. I guess this is kind of stealing from my thoughts on what they should do with the video game series, but there are a ton of interesting pieces in that world, both Covenant and Forerunner and, you know, Human. And I think examining each part of that could make for some awesome TV. So,
I mean, they've definitely, Hollywood agrees with you because they've made that show. Wait, no. Then they, well, no. And then they were going to, no. And then it was, no. And then, I mean, that's had more stops and starts than the Uncharted movie.
Oh, yeah. And like, I think people forget that. Like, that's when they canceled this, because it was Spielberg, or no, it was Peter Jackson who was going to do Halo, or he was going to produce the movie, right?
Yeah.
And then not Noah Baumbach, but Neil Blomkamp was set and ready to go on Halo, and then they canceled it, and then he's like, oh, I'll just make District 9. And then I was like, oh, like, yeah, this is what this could have been, because District 9 is incredible, and that could have made Halo. I think he at the height of his powers could have made an awesome Halo movie. It's kind of going off the track, but
yeah, no, I like all the reasoning here. I oddly enough, and this goes against a lot of the things that I like. I feel like Elder Scrolls is just, I love the game world and being able to explore the world. I don't know that I need a TV show about it. And I think you're right. Like the Witcher show or like a bunch of other fantasy shows capture a lot of the spirit of kind of the things that happen in Elder Scrolls. So I probably kill Elder Scrolls as a TV series. And then I think it comes down to between StarCraft and Halo. And I have to say, I kind of agree. I mean, I think StarCraft's world is dissed a little bit because it's based in RTS. That's where people put it. But the characters there are so good. Mm-hmm. Like there's a lot of really great characters and different factions. And just, I think the things you could do if I was going to, you know, Andy's going to produce a sci-fi, whatever series that's going to last for a long time. And you need deep things to explore and make a bunch of episodes from. I actually think StarCraft is probably my choice. I think it has the most interesting things that you could explore, right, as a show. And it's a shame because I agree with Alex. Actually, Halo is pretty great if you get rid of Master Chief. I love the rings. I love a lot of things about, you know, the Covenant. I hate the like the little annoying guys drive me crazy.
The grunts. I was like, who's
God? They make me nuts. Yeah. But they wouldn't be in my show. Yeah. But that's I'd probably you could make a good miniseries, I think, with Halo.
Definitely.
Yeah. What do you do with the woman in the pocket? What's her name?
Cortana. She's on your computer too now, and your phone, and like a bunch of other things.
Yeah. It gets messy.
They've told that story. It's not that Master Chief is inherently bad, but like they haven't found a way to tell his story past the peak of 3, and that's okay. You know, stories, people have certain stories they need to tell, and now it's time to explore the rest of that universe.
Yeah, I think you could and make something interesting. I also think you can make and this sounds weird, you could make a really cool Halo anime. With like
did a little bit.
Like I think that could be very cool. Like just with like, could you do like the space battleships? You do space battles that way. And go all in. Yeah. Make a transforming plane that turns into a robot. Like just go all in.
Just go off the rails.
And just do it. That's what I say.
I'm here for
it. But great question and good to hear from you, Lockie. We appreciate it from Australia. So this one is specifically I picked this one just for Reiner. It's obscure PSX titles. Good day, Andy, and let's go out tonight's. I'm curious as to the gang's response to the following Kiss, Marry, Kill obscure PSX titles: Legend of Dragoon, Vagrant Story, and Legend of Legaia. Love the show. And as an essential worker, I appreciate the podcast keeping me sane during work hours. Rob Flanagan. Thank you, Rob. Anyone who's an essential worker out there, we can't thank you enough. Make sure we give you a big shout out. You're awesome. Many, many, many thank yous. And I hope that if we bring any light to your life at this moment, we're humbled. So thank you. We really appreciate it.
100%.
So Legend of Dragoon, Vagrant Story, Legend of Legaia. I wish Joe Juba was here too, just because I know that would bother him. But what do you do here, Reiner? These are some classics.
Yeah, that's the order actually. Legend of Dragoon. I want that game to come back. Like that was the competitor for Final Fantasy VII back in the day. It was. Sony made that, right? Like that was the intent of it. And that kind of QTE style of combat where you have to time every sword slash perfectly to get, the crit or actually land certain blows. Otherwise they'd miss, was brilliant. Like that made those turn-based battles, like you had an active hand in that, outside of it being real time, like it worked really well, up the intensity. I want that series back in a big way. Story was good. Everything about that game was good.
So if you're listening, Sony, and I know you are,
seriously, bring it back.
Reiner says, bring it back.
Vagrant Story, awesome Square game. And then Legend of Legaia, some good ideas there, but it kind of fell a little flat in certain areas. So that would be my order.
Are you guys big fans of the series? I kind of left it just for Reiner, but if you have anything you want to throw in.
I'm going to default to Reiner. I don't remember most of it. I did play a couple of those games, but I do not remember them in any reasonable. I can't comment on this one, essentially.
Yeah. I only can comment. We did a Legend of Dragoon cover, right? I'm not crazy.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, back in the day. I remember that. It's kind of nuts. But thank you for the note, Rob. And I wanted to know the answer to that from Reiner, so that was kind of fun.
Yeah, it's a good one.
So next one. Hello, Game Informer crew. I have a new game for you to play. It's called This or That. I will list you 2 upcoming video games. Some we know a lot about, some we know nothing about, and you must pick one that you want to play. And in doing so, can never play the other game. Okay. This is from what? I don't know who this is from. I didn't put it. They didn't have their name on there. So this is bad that I don't have that. But this is a brutal game. This is a very, very brutal game. And it is, I'm going to read off some of these before we do it, because I don't even know if we want to do this, because this just feels, I feel almost dirty playing this game.
It's like the dirty version of Kiss or Kill.
Because you don't even get a medium, like you can't even kind of like somewhat pass on something. You have to kill some great things. And the list he brought is just brutal. So like Cyberpunk or Ghost of Tsushima. Which do you want to play? And you got to kill the other one. I don't want to kill either one of those. I want both those games, like really badly.
Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk.
Sorry.
Really? That easy?
If you got to pick
that one, yeah.
You got to pick.
Yeah.
I just don't even know. It breaks my brain.
It wasn't pleasant, but you got to pick.
Okay, all right. Then tell me, apparently you guys are really good at this. Assassin's Creed or the new the next Assassin's Creed or the next Spider-Man game?
I don't want to play this now.
Got real hard real quick, didn't it, Reiner?
No, it's just the one of though, right? So you could pick the franchise game and then just skip that title in the franchise.
No, you're cheating here.
Well, I'm just trying to find out.
Hey, listen, farm life. There's no ducks on this farm.
Oh, it's not very much a good farm, is it? Then?
You guys, by the way, shut up real quick. You're like, well, I got the
I'll take the Assassin's Creed.
Assassin's Creed over Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I'd go Spidey. He's one of my favorite characters. Not hot take, but Spidey.
Reiner has to say Spider-Man.
Yeah, so the next Assassin's Creed is Ragnarok, right? Like that's the rumor.
The rumor, yeah.
That's pretty damn cool. Well, yeah, I'll just say Spider-Man and leave it at that.
Okay. By the way, we can tap out of this one at any moment because this doesn't get any easier. Just so you know.
Okay.
The next one is Starfield or Horizon Zero Dawn 2.
Horizon Zero Dawn 2.
Horizon Zero Dawn 2. I'm playing Fallout 76, so you know.
This one is just because Horizon's are pretty much a known commodity.
We do. Yeah, and it's the other one's an unknown commodity. Okay.
If you would have asked me like in 2014, it would have been Starfield, but
yeah, seriously.
Yeah. Bethesda doing a sci-fi game, sign me up. But Horizon.
All right, have fun with this one, Alex. Last of Us 2 or Halo Infinite?
Nope, we're not playing anymore. This is done. Yep, I'm hitting the record button.
You're gonna have to pick
Last of Us 2 and Halo Infinite.
Last of Us 2 for me.
Yeah, Last of Us 2 for me as well.
I mean, I know the pedigree of Naughty Dog. They haven't made a bad game in 20 years.
You're just gonna keep talking about it till you rationalize picking Halo.
Last of Us 2. Last of Us 2.
Look at that.
Wow.
Halo still has something to prove to me. I know what Druckmann and his team are capable of.
You have forsaken Master Chief. He will remember that.
As he should. Next time I meet him, I'll say
next time we see him.
I'll talk to him and I'll be like, Joel and Ellie. And he's like, yeah, the Fireflies are dope.
So Dan, this one we'll have you answer first. Diablo 4 or Baldur's Gate 3?
Sucks. I mean, at the end of the day, I guess I have to pick Diablo 4, but it sucks anyway.
Yeah, it's a tough one. You guys?
Diablo 4.
I'm going Diablo 4 because Baldur's is going like early access, and I'm just like, what's happening?
All right. Breath of the Wild 2 or God of War 2? Reiner.
Oh man, it's not fair.
Reiner tried to hide for anyone that's not watching on video. And
pretty soon
they're going to hit it.
They're going to send in games that are just kill.
I know, just kill all these games.
Yeah. Zelda's my favorite game of all time, so I got to go with that, even though I have a feeling both are going to, just if they hit on the same notes, they're both in 10 territory.
Yeah.
I'd go God of War 2. I can still play the old Breath of the Wild, and 2D Zelda games are still on the table. So, and God of War 2, I'm very excited for.
Yeah. Farm Life?
God of War 2.
God of War 2. All right. GTA 6 or Elder Scrolls 6?
GTA 6.
GTA 6.
Elder Scrolls 6.
Oh, there you go.
Ooh, a little change up.
Yeah.
All right. Half-Life 3 or Portal 3?
Portal 3.
Half-Life
Going back 3. To my earlier comment. Yeah.
Picking imaginary games now.
It's all imaginary.
Sure, I know.
It's all imaginary.
Can I say Left 4 Dead 3? Does that count? No?
Sure, okay. Whatever.
Points don't matter and the rules are made up.
By the way, that's just as real as Half-Life 3 at this point.
I know.
Yes.
I also took that as a personal attack, Andy.
Yeah. And Portal 3, I'm going to throw in on this one. I would pick Portal 3, even though I wanted Half-Life 3 for so long in my life. You did this to me, Valve, by denying me for so long. Now I'm not that interested in you anymore. You did this.
Wow.
You did this. Wow. Reiner, instead of playing Pokemon, Half-Life or Portal 3?
Oh, I already said Portal 3.
Oh, Portal 3. Okay. All right.
Yeah. I don't want Valve doing any Half-Life sequels.
All right.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And this finishes with a very special one for Dan the Jacket Tack.
Oh, the Diablo 4 one wasn't bad enough?
That's correct.
Okay.
Can't wait for
You have been singled out for this one particular question.
Okay.
And that is Bloodborne 2 versus all other possible From Software games combined.
That's not a real ask.
Yes, that is a real ask. That is the real ask. Bloodborne 2 versus every other series from From. So Dark Souls, Elden Ring, all of it together versus Bloodborne 2.
Does it include any other game that they'd ever make?
Any other game they'd ever make?
Well, I can't pick. All right, I picked Bloodborne 2. There you go.
Let's go.
All right, that was a great question. I'm sorry I missed your name. I should have grabbed it. That was fun. Though that was murder. I mean, that was just a brutal list. That was so rough. I mean, it was all hits. Okay, guys, please send in your suggestions for Kiss, Marry, Kill. Can we do a week where it's not just brutal? Where
how about
it's not just some normal questions, just some like, hey, what about these three? Instead of like picking the greatest franchises of all time and making us kill Zeldas and Halos and Last of Us and Diablos and Baldur's Gates and Elder Scrolls.
I've had enough of Kiss, Marry, Kill. How about some happy games?
So that was fun. That was a lot of fun. I want to point out we got some comments before we wrap up the show. Sure. Number one was last week we talked to our friend Adam, who said last week, which we was like that he won't play games if the wind is too high out. And we kind of mocked him a little bit. So I'm glad he's played along with us. He asked us if we had any weird rituals when we played games, but he wanted to update us on some of the measures he's taken and the reasons for some of my weird habits. Just a couple of days ago, we had a wind warning with gusts of 35 to 45 miles an hour, and we lost powers. I've been burned before. So what did I do that day? Nintendo Switch. So he's picked up Nintendo Switch. So he's found a solution to his wind gusts stopping his gameplay, which still throws me off. But that was fun. So he's enjoying his Switch, but he's good reaching out. Thanks for following up. We really appreciate it. Another note we got from Joseph Thomas did not like the way I said Parvati, and I got a YouTube link to how to pronounce it. So Parvati, I believe is the correct way to say it. It's best when you add a little accent to it, I think. It sounds much more. But my bad Minnesota/Texas accents really murders it. So I understand you. I understand your frustration, Joseph Thomas. Hopefully I've corrected it and I'll screw it up again in the future. You're welcome. There's another one I thought was interesting. One of our readers sent in that they said they recently read Reiner's article about the pandemic is changing my life habits or my gaming habits and tastes. And I came away with a lot of emotions that I didn't think an article on a gaming website produce. Reiner, crushing people out there.
Yeah.
With this pandemic, I'm stuck at home as a high-risk individual, and I'm honestly scared. Like Reiner, I played a lot more intense games. I played a lot of games like Modern Warfare, Warzone, or The Division 2 with a great group of friends, one of whom you all know very well, but I won't call them out here. I can't play those games right now because they are just too much, and it's a bit frustrating that a game could be too heavy for me. It's just a sign of the times. So as you can imagine, I really connected with what Reiner was saying in his article. It felt really good to know that someone else was feeling the way I was right now. And it gave me a lot of hope and made me feel a lot better. I know that we as gamers are in this together and not just going at it alone. And that's 100% true. That's a good point for us all, that it has definitely been trying times. And hopefully games are making your lives better, and if there aren't games that aren't making your lives better, avoid them. So it's a real thing.
Yeah. You guys, let me throw that at you guys. I don't know if you read the article or not, but yeah, I had kind of a mini panic attack playing the live stream with Alex for Modern Warfare. I had to take a step back and take some deep breaths just because everything just felt so heavy that day. Have you guys felt you're changing anything?
I did read it and I did enjoy it. And initially I had changed, to more Animal Crossing and more like lighthearted stuff, but it didn't last very long. And, but in that regard, I did change my habit. I went back to like MMORPGs, much heavier than before, since you really like more immersive stuff that you can just like play for hours on end. So yeah, they changed a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, this is the first time in my life that Animal Crossing has spoke to me, and I do, as much as it is a great game, I do think it's a time and place thing where I needed something light like that. I think I've talked about it a couple times, but I had to stop watching shows like Death Note because it was just draining me. With the Warzone aspect, and once again, I am sorry that happened on stream. I feel bad about that.
No, it's fine.
I've definitely relied on those multiplayer titles even more because I need that social connection with my friends, but it's taken different shapes. Like my friends and I have been diving back into Sea of Thieves, which is cool. We tried out Division, and we've looked for different outlets to play stuff together, but I've needed those multiplayer sessions with my close friends more so than ever. And I still obviously I'm a multiplayer guy, but more than ever, I think now.
Yeah, I think it's been interesting. I think if I'm thinking about the way that I've been behaving, I think the thing for me that's been difficult is that I've had a lot of trouble with difficulty, I think, during this, in that, like, when I lose a lot, like in the past, I'd be like, that's okay. You know what I mean? Like, but like even now, like I lose one match of like a multiplayer game and I'm really frustrated. And I feel like some of that comes from just the heaviness of the situation that's going on, that some of my like, it's just a game, whatever, keep going. But I'm coming to my games looking to escape, to relieve a lot of that pressure. And sometimes the pressure of difficulty that normally is a hallmark for games and things that attract me to games, to some degree has I'm bouncing off it a little bit, and then I'm playing it and I'm going like, I'm just gonna take a break and come back to it. So I don't think it's stopped me from playing any game per se, but it's definitely lowered my threshold of acceptance in games of my own failure, which I know sounds pretty deep, I guess, to some degree, but it's just it just because of the way the world is and just not getting to spend as much time with other people, that I think it's spending a lot of time with yourself, right? And makes you think a lot about that. So I hear you. I hope everybody's doing well out there. Make sure if you are having any troubles, you reach out to somebody, talk to some friends. I honestly, I think I might have skipped this question when we were going through it, but like one of our readers asked, and I'm going to bring this question up now, was that with COVID, when COVID-19 is gone, a lot will change. This is going to be a new sensitive subject. Pandemics and the virus-themed media will flood the market or go absent for a while. How will the COVID-19 change the gaming industry? Are we finally done with zombie survivor shooters? Are we going to get more crazy epidemic games? Keep up the great work, Tom from Hungary. So, like, do we think the fact that we've all been through this, kind of dealt with this, that games will be different, or will be just business as usual?
I don't think, outside of the obvious world changes, I mean, I don't think that games are going to be especially more sensitive to move away from epidemics and disease as topics of conversation. I don't think that'll change. It's still an art form, and everything will be open. Maybe someone will even push it to be edgy. That's I can see that happening.
Yeah.
I guess, when we were in like Desert Storm, there was games that popped up from that. So I do think contemporary issues that are going on in the world become part of the message that game developers want to latch onto a little bit and make experiences about that and bring the players into that.
Yeah.
So I think we might see more stuff like The Division 2. And what's been interesting as I was doing research, after I did my article, some people were writing in and saying, I'm playing more games like that. Like, I want to have that be a part of my, not escapism, but entertainment. I want to be reminded of the real world at all times as I'm playing. Jeff Cork is someone who's playing The Division 2 right now. And I looked online and like the board game Pandemic is selling out, streams of that movie, Matt Damon movie Contagion, are up.
Yep.
It was in the top 10 again.
Like Outbreak.
Yeah. Like all that stuff's kind of, there's two camps there. Like, I want to escape that, but then at the same time, people want to kind of get back into that or have that be a part of their entertainment. So I think it's all going to be relevant. I think developers will probably latch onto it.
Yeah. I'm willing to bet that there's an indie developer, whether we know of them or not, or even just a normal developer, that's going to tell a very poignant and touching story about this, because I think there are going to be really interesting stories that come out of this with the isolation and the fear of the world that hasn't gripped us quite like this, at least in the US, in a long time. And great creators create some amazing things, and I'm looking forward to seeing what people can do.
Yeah.
No. I absolutely expect like this war of mine kind of scenario with involving an epidemic instead of a war kind of thing to come out of this.
Yeah, probably at some time. It's a big deal. All right. Well, the episodes are always fun. Please make sure you send in any questions to podcast@GameInformer.com. Please like us, follow us, be a part of the community. We really appreciate it. We appreciate your support. It's very, very helpful. So we can't thank you enough for that. I do have one last little note here I want to read. Dearest Andy and the Handy Dandies, it pains me to write this electronic letter, but alas, I'm afraid you are a foe far too great for me. So it is with a heavy heart that I must acquiesce in defeat in the great ToeJam and Earl War of 2020. For those that are unfamiliar, I'm going to bring up this point now. Our good friend Jeff in Los Angeles sent us a list for Kiss, Marry, Kill that involved ToeJam and Earl. And I made the play to remove ToeJam and Earl and add Ratchet and Clank. He came back to me and let me know that I was dodging it. I was scared that I wouldn't take a list of all the greatest ToeJam and Earl classics and choose Kiss, Marry, Kill. And I told him I refuse. I will not answer his ToeJam and Earl based questions, no matter what, Jeff from Los Angeles. And obviously, I've won. He has sent a letter where he has acquiesced in this battle. I continue. After the previous podcast where you read my most recent letter but refused to answer the ToeJam and Earl proposed to you, I realize that I'll always be one step behind, that you and your crew will always have the last word, the upper hand. Though your bias towards Ratchet and Clank is as transparent as glass, I can only hope that I have brought ToeJam and Earl back into your minds and maybe, just maybe, your hearts. Perhaps in some downtime during this new world we live in, you could pop in ToeJam and Earl and relive or experience for the first time the most delightful of duos. I'm greatly enjoying our verbal sparring. It's been a much needed reprieve from the stress and chaos we currently live in. It has given me something to look forward to every few weeks. Perhaps I will continue to write, albeit with non-TNE related questions and comments. Yours, Jeff from Los Angeles. Jeff, I want to say your letter's touched me. It's really touched me. I think it's changed me. And so I think without further ado, we're going to finally do the Kiss, Marry, and Kill for ToeJam and